All right. So, folks, bear with me this morning. It's early and I haven't got going good. But out here getting everything prepped and ready. I've had this job that I've been working on. I did a live the other night where I was nailing a bunch of these together and sanding them, but I've had to do another batch. So I've got like, I think 25 of these that are ordered, and I've got to get a logo engraved on them. And then after that, some of them are going to get stained, some of them aren't. So I think I have a total of like 17, 23. We got a total of 23 that we've got to actually engrave today. Some of them, they just wanted them without an engraving. So that's what we're going to do is we're going to engrave the ones that need engraving, and I'm going to set them in assorted places because I've made myself a little sheet here to go by, which it's the best to write it down when you're doing stuff like this. But before we get started, I want to wait, just talk about what we're going to be doing and say hey to you guys, and then we're going to start making some stuff. And you know what? I think it's a caffeine kind of day. So let me go see what I got in my refrigerator over here. Maybe there's some caffeine in here. Oh, yeah. I've been trying to cut back on my caffeine intake. I don't know if y'all guys noticed or not, but this part of me, since the last couple of surgeries I had, this little area right in here, it's gotten a little bigger. I'm trying to work on getting that knocked back just a little bit. I'm not really. I mean, I've never been like bodybuilder, like weight class or anything as far as like a little fat on the bone. But I ain't never had it like that. My goodness, what is wrong with my monster's done swole up or something? I ain't wanting to fit in my huggy. I bet that thing's about froze. Let me crack the lid, see if that helps. That ain't going in there. It ain't coming out either now. Randall, it could be that I'm eating too many peppers. I eat a lot of cucumbers right now because my peppers, I'm going to try to get this in this can if it don't break. If it breaks, I'm going to slay monster everywhere. I don't know why it's being so stubborn. I'm going to drive that out of there with a hammer. I got it in, but yeah. I've already ate a cucumber this morning. I also, like I said, after I had those couple of surgeries, like I just started putting on weight. I attribute that to my digestive system health got messed up from all the antibiotics with the surgeries. So I've been trying to eat foods to deliberately get my health back right as far as my digestive tract, and it seems to be working. It seems to be helping. So let's see what we got going on in the comment section over here. I tried laying the screen out so you can see the comments a little better by putting it in that little dark orange area over there. So let me know. I got my screen mirrored right. Yes. Okay. So yeah. So we got going on over here in the comments section. Got Tim Arthur. Hello, sir. How are you? Mr. Randall Boughton. Good morning from down in Mobile. Man, I tell you, I got to make some time in my schedule this year to come down to Point Clear and do some fishing. Being that I'm in the state retirement service, there's the old Battle House. The Battle House is what they call it, Battle House Motel or whatever down there at Point Clear in Mobile. I can get a really good deal on a room down there. And so we went down there last year, and it's really, really nice. I want to go back down there, but I want to take some fishing equipment with me this next time and get me one of the rooms where I could like literally walk out my back door and be like right there at the bay or whatever that is and do some fishing, because there were people out there fishing, made me jealous. Let's see. Good morning, Dave. Looks like retirement is agreeable with you. PRC. Yeah, well, I like it. I will tell you though, if you haven't done it, and those of you that have probably can sympathize with me on this, or retired or semi-retired, or maybe you got disabled or whatever the case may be. When your daily routines like suddenly just abruptly stop from going to work every day and doing things and having all that structure, and all of a sudden you're just sitting there just like no rules as far as what you got to do that day. It's an adjustment. I kind of felt like, you see all these National Geographics and stuff where they have these animals that have been in captivity their entire life, and they go out to this field and they've got them in this cage, and they open the cage and let them out, and the animal just kind of stands there and looks around like, what do I do? That's kind of how it felt for the first few months. I'm starting to, get my own structures now, but that was a little bit of a different setup there in the beginning. But anyway, today we will be using my new favorite Galvo. I think it still can't beat a UV for UV things, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm liking the machine. So the star of today's show is going to be the Gweike G3. This particular one is a 60 watt MOPA, 40 watt blue, but we're not using the MOPA today. Today we're going to be using the blue laser because the blue lasers do good on wood. MOPA lasers don't do good on wood. They can do good on metals such as aluminum, like that, and they can do good on slate, like that. They can do good on those things, but fiber lasers, MOPAs, infrared beam spectrum does not like wood. So you can sometimes get away with it if it has a coating on it. Like you can spray it if you just got to do wood. A lot of times you can pick, like you can paint it with certain paints, or you can spray it with certain sprays that will interact with the laser, and you can make a mark with a fiber on wood, but it's not desirable. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And I guess I'm going to get started because I got 20 something of them to do. And I got to go pick up a kid here in a little while. So we're going to get our list. Always have your list handy. So this is what we got to do. And because I'm process oriented, I'm going to start with the ones that we have the least number of engraves to do, and I'm going to work my way to where we're just cranking them out with that one, so that I'm going to do the son and the stepdad, which I've only got to have one of those each. I'm going to do those first. The plain ones, of course, I'm just going to set them to the side. Already have over here by themselves, and little 4 right there, because those don't even get an engrave. Then I got 2 that I'm going to have to put dad on, and then the 15 at the end are all the father logo. So once I put that logo in there, I just leave it till the end, and I like it that way. So another thing that we're going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you so that you guys can kind of see the whole process. So this is the bottom screen down here. The software that we're going to use today is, well, we may split it up just for the sake of showing you the capabilities of this machine and how it works. Probably I'll do a few of them with Lightburn. How about we do that? Let's do these first ones, all these singles. We'll do those with Lightburn, and then we'll switch over to their software and do the 15. How about that? How about that, y'all? I think that's a good idea. So let's get some Lightburn going here. Let me hide that little thing there. Oh, no. One thing that I have learned, if nothing else, is when you're starting to do a job, do not do the update right then. Just skip it until you get through, because you'll regret that if you do it enough. All right, so luckily for me, I also, in designing, because I did design this file, this little design, I designed it in Lightburn. So luckily I have a folder over here that says Father's Day, and I have all of these designs. So the first one that we're going to do is going to be the sun. So I'm going to go through here, find my little sun one, bring it over. I do want to make sure that it's at 50 millimeters or thereabouts. It's 50.986, blah, blah, blah. That is plenty good for me. So now we got to have a machine. So I'm going to go over here and get the machine going. So with the machine, like I said, with this particular machine, you've got this part here, which is basically the tower, the galvanometer. You do have a lift for the bed that raises it up and down. It does have autofocus, all those cool things. But this little piece over here to the side, this little suitcase looking thing, that is all of the source, the power, all of that. And you'll notice when you first turn it on, yes, it is loud. It revs the fans up, like it blows a lot of air, But once it does that, it checks all the fans. I'm guessing that's what it's doing. Then it gets quiet. So I do got to remember to reach up here and pull my handy dandy lens cover off. And I had to make this long cable for it because this plastic's a little dark. And especially the black one that it came with, you would forget it. Matter of fact, there may or may not have been a hole melted in that one. So I made this one and put it on there, and it works fine. Now, I also took the liberty of creating myself, and I'll try to get it where you guys can see it here. I created myself this little jig right here yesterday. And what this is going to do is enable me to take these and just set them in that hole right there and engrave them. I don't have to guess. I don't have to worry about alignment. Once I get the file aligned, we're good to go. So I can just literally take that one out, put another one in there. Now I do have it connected to the little metal plate that goes in the bottom of the machine. So there's a little bit of wiggle, but not enough to be noticeable with this. So when you put it in there, if you really want to be OCD about it, you can just kind of press and make sure it's toward the front and you're good to go. So I'm gonna go back over here now into Lightburn, and we will show you how it works from here. And with this machine, it does indeed have a camera. So I'm gonna refresh the camera view, and you can see that my logo is right in the middle of where the pointer dots are, which is right where I want the design for the most part. Because like I said, I built this jig, intentionally designed this jig to hold that part of the laser, like to hold the box right there underneath the laser. Now, this camera, like I said, works pretty good. And this is where, and people ask me all the time, well, I thought you liked X-Tool machines. I do like X-Tool machines, but I also like Lightburn. I like the option of using Lightburn. So I'm not knocking X-Tools machines, but if you're like me and you like Lightburn, then this might actually matter to you. You know what I mean? So once I get that up there, now even though I've got a jig, the jig's holding it in the middle of the work area, you can see where the red dot is. Even though it looks to me like it's centered before I go to pushing the button, I do want to frame. And with this machine, it frames like most of your galvos that you're used to. So we'll go back over here to my B-roll camera where I show you guys. Now, wait a minute, hang on here. Why am I? Hold on, I got something going on here. Have I raised it too much? Make sure I got my focus set. I'm not seeing my blue laser. Did I start their software? Hang on a minute. I gotta. Oh, wait a minute. I bet I know what it is. This is the one janky thing. This is the one thing. I bet I know what I got going on. This is the one thing that I do not like about this, but it's not that big of an issue. But this is how, if you think about getting this machine, this is how you have to go about changing from Galvo to blue. All right, so you gotta go to laser tools, and then you gotta go over here to device settings, and then you go into here. You just gotta be on CO2 right here. That's blue. And if you change it to fiber, that's the MOPA. So that's how you go from blue to MOPA. So that's it. But it appears that, why am I not framing? Hang on, guys. I got something. Something going on. Hell, why am I not framing? All right, let me go over to their software and see if it's a Lightburn thing. So this is their software, and we're going to open up this one. All right, I'm just going to frame and see if yeah, it's a Lightburn thing, all right, because it's a framing like crazy now. Huh. All right, so let me exit out of here. and go back to light burn. All right. Swapping over to Gweike. All right. Father's Day. Son. Wait a minute. Let me make sure my layers is on. Okay. Frame. Why be a monkey's uncle? Okay. Now it's working. All right. So apparently there was a glitch in light burn. I don't know what the deal was. But anyway, let me update my overlay. Y'all talking about my microphone? My microphone may be a little too sensitive. This is my DJI mics. Is it picking up? Is it picking up too much stuff? What do I need to do? Am I breathing too heavy? My stomach growling? Am I gassy? What you got down there? Not bored. All right. So as you can see, I've got the machine set up. It's jigged. So I'm gonna hit frame. You got the same options you do on all the other ones. So you can do bounds, and I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like. Bounds is, see if you can see this on my B-roll camera. That is bounds. Bounds is where it does the rectangle. So you also have the option of doing hull. Hull is gonna more or less outline it. Like if it was shaped like a triangle, it would make a triangle. If it's shaped like a circle, it's gonna make a circle. All right. And so then you got contour. Contour is kind of the same thing as hull, to be honest with you. This one's trace the actual shapes in the job, which you can't see because it's moving so fast. And then this one does around the outside. So those are your different frames. So now that I'm through talking about what the frames are, I'm going to put it on hull, which is so I can see exactly where it's going. And I'm going to go over there and make sure I got it set where it needs to be, because there ain't no bringing it back. Ooh, that's on there. All right. So before we start this job, guys, I'm going to need to add you guys a filter to your camera you got over there. And I got these little lenses. These are your safety glasses. So I got to put the safety glasses on for you guys, because if I don't, you're not going to be able to see with that camera I got you over there. So we're going to put you back on your camera. I'm going to put your safety glasses on. All right, now we got your safety glasses on. You should be able to see. You might not be able to see where it's framing, but hopefully when I hit this start button right here, you'll be able to see the engrave. So let me double check my settings, because I hadn't looked at that. 200 speed, 80 power. Yeah, it sounds about right. I do want to do 2 passes, and I think I want to set it as let me just do 1 pass as a crosshatch. There we go. All right. So we got that set up. Frame one last time. So you can barely see it with your safety glasses on. Let me move your camera a little closer here. Let me put something under the camera to raise it up just a little bit. Where's something like that there? There you go. Let me set this under here. Give you guys a little better window to see there. All right, we're gonna turn some air on, a little ventilation, and here we go. Put my glasses on. I might turn the other fan on too. So there we go. All right, so with that lid up so that you guys can see, it's gonna get a little smoky in here, but there you go. Woo, look at that, perfectly centered. See that nice color on that oak, or that pine right there? You know, everybody says how pine doesn't burn real good. That's one thing I've got to give it to this laser. Compared to some of them, it actually does a really good job with this pine. Now, I'm gonna need to go a little deeper. I want it to be deep. So we're gonna change our settings just a little bit here. This one's fine. Well, I say it is. It might not be because I got to stain this one. But yeah. But we'll see. We'll see how it pans out. Actually, I may want to go ahead and try to go a little deeper. That way, if I have to paint fill it or something. 100. Wonder how well I'm gonna be able to get it centered again. And that fan, when I get that fan powered up and going, it is a little loud. I think I'm gonna leave that one because if I try to go back in that same spot without after I moved it, I don't know that I'm gonna be able to. But that's a little. It's a good burn, but I'm a little afraid it ain't deep as I want it. But I did make some extra ones, so I'm gonna leave that alone. We'll just go deeper with the next one. All right, so I'm gonna do this one with the same logo, but I'm gonna make this one go a lot deeper, and I'm gonna just leave it there until it gets deep enough. The blue is 40 watt. All right, so I moved it up to I did it to 100 speed. It's at 80 power. So I'm gonna move it 85% power, 100 speed, crosshatch. We'll turn the lines per inch up to 200. That's gonna give me a 200 is gonna give me a little more overlap, which is gonna make it go a little deeper. So yeah, so we'll try this again. We'll see how that goes. So framing it up, just gonna double check. Actually wouldn't hurt for it to come down like 1 millimeter. Let's frame that up again. There we go. All right, so I got this one. I slowed this one down a little bit and got it going a little faster. Like I said, it's gonna get smoky in here with me having this lid all the way up like that where you guys can see, but we're gonna rock it as long as we can. So let's go back to the B-roll camera. And it's gonna be bright when it first starts. Boy, that laser is eating that camera a new one. I could try to focus it a little bit. Let's see if I can manually focus that camera. Trying to find some camera settings that work. Oh, that might be a little hot. That's a little hot. You got a little flame licking off of it there. Long as it don't stay in one spot too long, I can hit that with a sander and knock it right off. But yeah, I'm gonna have to back that power down just a little bit. It's got that little flame licking. It's not really hurting anything, like I said, because that's solid pine. As long as it don't stay in one spot, it's not gonna be a big concern. But the little tiny parts of those letters, it could like scorch the corners enough to make it rounded or whatever. Not that that's a big deal, because you know, rustic is kind of my thing. But anyway, oh, now that I turned the autofocus off on that camera and everything, hey, let me fix this camera back. That is terrible. Let's see. So I need to fix the auto exposure. Okay, I'm gonna have to leave that on. I left the focus. So let me get that one out and look at it. Oh yeah, that was plenty dark. It's got a little charred on the outside. Like I said, I'm not concerned about that. I am going to back. That's why I had that power at 80 and not 85, though. I am going to back that down to 85. I'm going to run my speed back up to 150. Since I added that LPI, I think that's what's causing my flame ups. So I'm going to leave that LPI at 200, but I'm going to speed it up to 150. And what I'm probably going to do is just add another pass. That way I'm going to get that deep effect without it. So let me go touch this up with the sander real quick, and I'll show you guys what it looks like after I hit it with sandpaper. Woo! Yep, starting to get a little smoky up in here, even with the fan going. Go over here and hit it with some compressed air now. Oh yeah, it's got smoky in here. The exhaust does not work that good when you got the lid up on that thing, by the way. A little more sand right in the middle. Yeah, that scorch got a little hot. I may have to cut that LPI down just a little bit. All right, so that one was a little too hot, but it's plenty deep. So yeah, so it done good. Make sure my fans are all turned on here. Yeah, that was on. The problem is I got that cover up. It's just going everywhere. All right, so next on the list is stepdad. Put me another one in there. Make sure it's secured. I think I'm going to stick with 200 on my speed. All right, so I'm going to get y'all back in the screen where you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to take my logo, move it out of here. I ain't going to delete it because I want my settings to stay. And what was it, stepdad? Yep, stepdad. So I'm going to bring this stepdad graphic over here, and I'm going to move it to the page center. Now I can delete that one. So refresh with my camera so it don't look like I've already engraved this one. And I'm going to frame that one up, and I'll show you guys what it looks like. All right. It looks good. So we're going to get this one going. But yeah. Jared O'Grady, I did the cutouts on these, the woodwork part. I did it the cheating way. I built a Vectric file for it, and I put the panels on the CNC, and I cut these things out of some scrap material. And then when I ran out of scraps, because I didn't have enough scraps to do all of them, I went and got some more of my stove cover panels, and I cut 8 out of a panel. So like one of my stove cover panels, I made 8 of these hat boxes with it. So that's how I ended up. Yeah, I like this. I like this setting better. You see that little flame just barely licking up top, but it ain't enough to cause an issue. But it's by the fact that it is kind of flaming like that, that should give it a nice dark engrave. But it's right there at the borderline of too hot. But yeah, I did all the boxes with the CNC mark. When I can, I avoid using tools that require me to stand over top of them. It's just so much easier. It may flame up on this last pass because it's starting to get charred real bad. I'm gonna have to cut that LPI back. It's just too much gas being vaporized down that hole. But I can promise you this is gonna be a black engrave. That's the thing, especially with these galvos, is finding that balance between enough but not quite too much. Let me go ahead before I forget it. Let's go back in light burn here. And I'm going to knock a little bit off of that LPI. So we were at 127. We're gonna go down to 150. And that ought to do it. So let's see what this one looks like right here. Woo, smoky. Oh. Oh. Yeah. And see what I like about that one is, like, literally you just like touch it with the sandpaper and it's gonna be perfect. So that one worked out really nice. I might should have left I think I'm gonna leave to be honest with you, I'm gonna put my settings back like I had it. I kind of like the way it was. So we're gonna go back to 200 on the LPI because I thought that little bit of flame might have been causing some problems. But if you look real close, even between those little tiny letters, there's no charring, like no bad charring. So yeah, we're good. We're good on that. But that's, guys, I'm telling you, that's why, because do you know how long it would take with like even the alien cell, which is a fast laser, it'll take a minute, you know? And the thing that I like about the way that I'm doing these is I made all these, sanded them, glued them up, sanded them and all that. And I've just got them sitting over here. And as they tell me what logo they want, I just drop it in this machine. And what was that? We'll have to time the next one, but it ain't long. So let me set this one to the side. Woo! Turn this other fan on over here to drag some more air through the building. It's starting to look like a saloon up in here. Yeah, Mark, it's let's see if I got any video. I may have a video that I took of it the other day. Oh, I did a short. That's what I did. I did a short on it. They say I know I did the video, but I did a short the other day on making those. Let me find it. Yeah, here it is. That's the file right there. And when I first started making them, I was using scrap that I left over from the stuff covers, and then ordered all those scrap woods right there. Then I had to go out and buy panels. Because I'm selling to a box for $20 a piece, and I don't have a whole lot of time invested in them. I mean, it's not like it's just free money, but I don't have a whole lot of time invested in them. This is what I did the first one. This is before I built the bigger one. Using that. You can see the smoke. That's what they look like unsaved. And then take them off of. That's the project that we are working on currently. So let's get another one going. make sure my exhaust is even connected. Oh my gosh. Guys. Found the problem. Oh. Oh. Give me a minute. I gotta hook up some exhaust. No wonder it was getting smoky in here. I'm over here just blowing smoke across the shop. Oh. See, when I told y'all it was early, guys, this is what I meant. I have forgot that I took my exhaust system loose the other day and hooked it up to the new laser pecker that I got in. And I never reconnected it this morning or the other day. So, yeah. So give me a minute to get this connected. This is not an ideal exhaust setup, but I'm running 2 fans. I'm running a 6-inch pulling and then the factory one from the machine pushing. And so it's usually effective. I was wondering, I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be 100% effective with the door open, but that was a bit excessive. All right, hey, I bet it does better this time. What y'all bet? I bet we get at least some of the smoke this time, because it was literally, it was pulling the smoke in right there and it was blowing it out over there on the floor. So we got right here. Yeah, I was just transporting it from one side of the table to the other one, Chris. They do work better when they're connected. I'm gonna give it a minute though. I'm trying to catch your comments. Maybe they want to hook that hose up. Yeah. Hey, it happens. I was like, I get it that it, you know, that it's not ideal having the door open, but that's excessive. And that's when I decided to go run there and look. Never thought of putting the blade in sideways to put off tool. Oh yeah, Jared, that the thing about those are that that's what makes them, that's what makes these guys right here, that's what makes these awesome. Like, that's the way, when I'm cutting off tabs, I run mine like that. With this one here, you can just twist that and I can turn it to, you know, whatever position. The only position I haven't really found a need for is that one. I haven't found a need for that position yet. But I take this one and I just turn it sideways like that, and man, it works good. And I got the that's just a standard wood cutting blade. It's actually a Milwaukee blade, don't tell DeWalt. But this thing is awesome. And you can literally, you ain't even got to go hard. You can just barely hit the button and knock those tabs off. If once you dial them in, because I make them to where they're just big enough to hold, but not too big. So yeah, I love this thing. This is awesome. And you can see I use it mostly for the CNC because that's where it lives. It's right there on the side of the CNC. Whew. Eyes was watering, smoking so bad in here. So let me, we'll be loading up now. So we did stepdad, we did son. I got 4 plain ones. Those are right here. I'll go ahead and move these over here out of the way. We got to have them. Them are plain ones. All right. 2 that says dad, and we'll do these 2 in light burn, and then we'll switch over to their software to show you guys how it works. So let me get the screen back up there for you guys. So again, I'm gonna move this out of the work area. I'm gonna go over here to the one that says dad, and then I'm gonna use this little button here, and I'm gonna tell it to move it to the page center, because the page center on this one is where that red dot is. That's typically true with all the galvos I've ever had. And then frame. So once I frame, we're going to see if it's where it needs to be. That looks awesome. So we're going to send it from here. And I'm gonna put my glasses on. Y'all already have yours on, so we should be good. Like I said, I did go back to those settings. So right now I'm running 200 speed, 80% power, and I'm running a 200 on my LPI or whatever it's called on this setting. But that should give me that nice brown, and it's gonna do a few passes. The reason I wanted to do a few passes is because, like I said, pine is one of those woods that if you don't engrave it dark, it's hard to see. I'm going to be staining some of these, and so and I sent them prototypes that were just engraved and stained, and that's what they've ordered. But a lot of times, if you stain after you've engraved, it can mute the engraving a little bit. But the stain that I typically use is Minwax Early American, and it's got a lot of black pigment mixed in with it that typically will wipe off when you wipe the stain off. But if you use it on something that you've engraved, the black pigment tends to get trapped in the engraved and stays on there only in the engrave, which kind of makes the engrave a little darker. So if you had never tried the Minwax Early American, it's what I use a lot of on my stove covers and everything with pine. So it works real well. But yeah, this crosshatch is making it dig. It may be a bit excessive, but as long as the engrave looks good, I would rather it take just a little bit longer to do the engrave to get the look that I want. I'm not in a big hurry. So, and it is definitely handling the smoke much better in here now. Still catching a little bit of it because the fans in the galvanometer are shooting some of it out, but for all in all, it's definitely doing better. Ooh. And see, I'm probably going to dust those a little bit with the sander just to make sure, because there's a little bit of tint right there. But for the most part, I mean, you can put that on the shelf right there just like it is. So there's one down for Dad. I got to do two for Dad. Let me grab another one. Those are my spares back there at the back. All right, and so since this is the same engrave, because I had to have two for Dad, so since this is the same engrave, this is where you start making money doing batch jobs like this. Is now instead of having to set it up and bring everything in, we're just gonna hit the button, and there you go. So that's why I like doing these B2B jobs to where they order a bunch of different ones, is so that they can it just knocks them out. I guess I could move my camera and lower that lens a little bit. Hang on. That'll help with my smoke situation. It ain't gonna help with y'all being able to see it though. Now with the lid partially open, I'm still going to you know, I'm still gonna have some smoke getting into the shop, but I knew that when I built them the way I did. But because that's part of the deal is when you got the lid, like I got the lid partially open, and I'm not gonna look at it directly because I don't have my glasses on, but when you got that lid partially open, you get a little splashback like that. But I've actually got the lid sitting on the edge of the box now, so we're good. Mark says, how are you gonna put the bottoms on them? There is no bottom. The way that works is, let me grab one. And see, I've already put the little sticky feet on the bottom of them. But the way that this works is you just take the hat and hang on, I got one right here somewhere. Like the hat sits in here like so. Like I have to show you on their website. Hang on, let me show you on their website. These are the people that are making these are the same ones that make my t-shirts and hats and stuff like that. So we get over here to Facebook. That one finished. I'll let it air out for a minute. Let's see. They post a lot, so give me a second. Here we go. All right, so this is what they look like. That's what they're designed for. They sent me a photo from Etsy, basically say, hey, can you make something similar to this? The one they sent me the picture of was literally just 4 square pieces, and one of them had a half moon cut out of it, and they were shot together with just flat joints. You know what I mean? It was just like board in to board in. I went a little extra and kind of did the rabbits so that I could kind of hide the bulk of the intersection on the material. So if you look at the way I had these built, let me remove that. If you look right there, which that one's got a little bit of a little chip, but if you look right there, the corners are more or less like they're hidden. And so the ends, I put the staples in the ends, but the corners are hidden. So I did those 2 that they got on display right here. I made those 2, and then I sent them to them, and they shared them. And basically, they took those 2 prototypes, and by using those prototypes, they took orders, like pre-orders. Pre-order only. You got to specify, you know, what logo you want, whether you want it stained or whether you want it just natural. You know, you got to specify all that. And then they took orders. And so they had like 25 of them that were ordered. And so I'm making those 25. So deep dive designs, I don't, not for what I'll do around here. I ain't putting wood putty in it. If I was building a family heirloom, which I don't do fine furnishings. I do rustic home decor functional items. Because if I start having to put wood putty in every little hole and I start having to sand, I'm not going to be able to make the money back off of these that it takes me to make them. I'm not making a lot off of these as it is. So no, there comes a point to where even though you may be a perfectionist, you have to just operate on the level of expectation of your customer, because nobody's going to pay me extra to hide that little imperfection. Ain't nobody going to pay me extra for that. They're like, I'm not going to do it. So you have to, if you're going to do it as a business, you have to figure out what the customer wants, what the customer will pay for, what the customer won't, and price accordingly. Because like I said, if you wanted me to make a perfect one, I'll make you a beautiful one. I'll make it out of mahogany. It won't have a dimple in it nowhere, but you're going to pay $100 for it. Or you can have one of these for 20. You know, that's where you have to tamp your expectations of your projects to where they're monetizable. Because if you start getting too critical with it, you're not going to make any money. And so when I sent those 2 prototypes and they looked at them and they said, yes, this is what we want, that's exactly what you get for that price, because they're not going to pay me no extra. Now, there are some things, if it's just terrible, I'll throw it to the side and give it away. But that little chip right there, we're going to rock on with that. We're calling that rustic. Look it up. Rustic means having imperfections. Let's see. Hang on, let me show you guys. The folks that work around me have gotten to where they know. Look right here. Let me just go and show you. The term rustic generally refers to anything relating to the countryside, country life, or an unpolished natural aesthetic. So there you go. Crude or unpolished. That's the whole thing right there. So, you know, it just depends. It depends on your audience. If you're making a violin for somebody that plays in the orchestra or whatever, then yeah, you're going to do something with that. But you gotta play to the fans, so to speak. You got to be able to pivot, because trust me, when I first started, man, I would tear something apart and redo it, tear it apart, redo it, tear it apart and redo it. And it wasn't until people started coming and visiting the shop and they would see all these things sitting around that I wouldn't sell it, because I was like, it's not good. And they were like, oh man, I love this. You know, why would you not sell this? And I'm like, well, it's got that. And they're like, I wouldn't have even noticed it if you hadn't said anything. And they would buy it from me. And so it's like, okay. And so that's when I realized I'm never going to make money if I only want to sell a perfect product. I'm never going to do it, because I'm using imperfect material. First of all, this is wood. This is natural wood. It's got, like, look, there's a little line right there. That's like a little piece of hardened sap. If you look around on this side, I mean, I got all these little joints and stuff here. I mean, it's not a perfect material. And that little divot that you're talking about right there is like tiny, tiny, tiny. So that's just a piece of chip out, because there was a knot. If you look, there's a knot right there. And so there's a little tiny piece of chip out right there. So yeah, no, I'm not if I was that particular, I wouldn't be making any money. I'd still be at my 9 to 5 if I was that particular. But I mean, everybody's situation is different. Y'all done made me lose track. There we go. Dad, hot off the presses. Yeah. So that's 2 dads. We got to do, well, that's all of them. All right, so we move the dads over here. And then I got to break these down too. Some of them are going to get stained. The other ones are going to just get sprayed with clear coat. And yes, sprayed with clear coat. Because even though, well, I don't know, I got this many of them. I might break out a brush for this many. I don't know. Usually I use spray, because everybody's like, oh, you're using spray. Spray's more expensive than the paint on. Paint on's cheaper. I don't know about you guys, but I try to be able to reuse brushes that I use for clear coat or polyurethane. It never works out. So I have learned that it's cheaper for me to use a rattle can than it is to buy buy a paintbrush every time I do one thing. It ends up being cheaper. So there we go. Aha. Good deal, Jack. Well, Jack, if you got to have something to do while you're at work, you ain't working real hard. Let's see. All right, so now we need 15 with the father logo, and we're going to swap over to their software, and we'll do the father one on their software. So I'm going to discard this because I don't need to keep that. Their software is called G-Laser, and it appears to me to be built off the same framework as Monport, Atom Stack. It's almost identical to ComMarker software. It does work a little better than what I've worked with in the past, but I think it's because it's just had some updates. But this is their software. This is the logo. I do have a setting created in their library here for Pine right there. So we're just going to use that because that's where I was doing my testing the other day with the machine. So we're going to leave that alone in here. And let me get one to put in the laser. All right. So again, this is their software, so we would expect it to work well with the machine. And for the most part, I found that it does. So I'm going to refresh my picture here, and you will see that their camera, yeah, it works pretty dang good. So you can see where it's at on there. I will be hitting the preview. Let me make sure I got my, let me auto focus it. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't even think I focused it. I was talking to you guys. So auto focusing. Okay, so I did focus it. Woo! All right, it was too late to cry about it now, but anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the preview button. It does the same thing. It's just a frame. It's no different than Lightburn, really. Let me get my, I got to get my little window off of my camera where you can see it. Hang on a second. I got to have a pair of pliers. Somebody, when they designed that, didn't put a big enough handle for my big old fingers. So I had to grab the pliers to be able to get that off of there. So I'll take it off. So you can see there, that is the frame in their software. And it looks to be where I want it. So I'm gonna lower the lens, the cover down, so that maybe we don't get quite as much smoke this time. And stop the frame. And we're gonna engrave it. So there you go. And their software, like I said, I haven't had any problems with it. When I first got it, there were some little caveats with the setup, and I've talked to them about it, as far as like I had to connect to the machine, and then once I connected to the machine, I had to kind of download the profile from the machine and from the software to the machine, and it was like there was a syncing process between the software and the machine. But once I did that, boom, everything seems to be working fine. It's engraving like it's supposed to. No major problems. I found a few places in here where the language, like not like the language per se, but like the terminology, it's not what I'm used to. But Gweike or Gweike, however you want to say it, they told me to say Gweike, so that's why I'm saying it. They come from more of a commercial laser arena, so I think maybe that's where some of the terminology comes from. But all in all, if you have a good understanding of lasers, like if you've used other lasers before, the learning curve with this software, with this machine, is really simple. So there you go. We still haven't timed it to see how long this is taking. We'll time one in a minute. There you go. Looks good. Looks good. Looks good. Still not, that's not as deep as what I was doing them. Let me see if I can set that a little higher. Just a little higher. So we got that. See, this is where a lot of this stuff that's in the settings you typically do not see in software that we're used to using. So yeah. It's set to 3. Speed 750. Let me make sure I got it ready. Woo. But all in all, like I said, I'm digging the machine. You can't see nothing over there. Can't see nothing. But there we go. Yeah, Chris, I think it was because it was going way faster in their software. So I slowed it down a little bit. We'll see what this looks like. Maybe I won't ruin one. I got 5 extras right now, for that matter. I can make more if I need to, but I try not to mess them up. What I typically do is I've got a box over there, any kind of rejects. I'll just throw them in a box, and then somebody will come in the shop and be like, oh, I'd love to have that. Let me make sure that ain't too hot. Yeah, it might be a little hot. It's looking like it might be. Ooh, I should have went with the settings that was in there. I'm cooking that one. Let it finish this pass, and I'll stop it. It's cooking it. Now it may look good, but it's looking a little toasty in there. Oh yeah, it's a little toasty. We definitely gonna have to stop that after this pass. Yeah, I shouldn't have went so slow. I think what it is, I think their software is running a higher LPI. That was way too slow. What did we say that was running a while ago? It said 700, wasn't it? Yeah. That one got toasty. Woo! And they got a little hot. Oh yeah, I burnt that one. That's burnt. That one's burnt. Throw that one away. Yeah. I hate it when I do that. It happens. So the settings that were in that file are going to be real close. Yeah, it was a pretty big jump. So I'm gonna jump a little less. Matter of fact, where's that one at? Ugh. Let's do some retesting on the back of this one. I'm gonna retest it. I dropped it down to 500. We'll see what happens with 500. Woo! And the speed and power works out different in their software. I think it's because you saw where it said galvo speed in there. I think it's because they break the speed down a little differently in this software. But yeah, it's like 200 in Lightburn is not 200 over here. And it could be the LPI is much higher on this side of software. I don't know. But we'll test. I'll do some testing on this side of the box to get it like I want it. I thought I had it like I wanted it, but I wanted it a little deeper. Well, Chris, that's also why I made 5 extra boxes, because you never know. I thought I had the settings figured out, but I wanted a little deeper than what I had saved. So we're gonna do a little experimental settings. So far, the burn pattern on that looks fine. Like, it's not flaming up too much. It's got just enough flame to make it dark, but not enough to like totally crispy it. So yeah, guy said I could use that bad one before testing. Yeah, and like I said, hey, most of these, to be honest with you, like the majority of these are made out of scrap material that was going to get thrown away anyways. So a little bit of time that I put into it. I did the settings. I tested the settings on scraps, but I thought I had it saved the way I wanted it, but apparently not. That's a nice, decent burn. That's at 500. That's pretty good. I wonder what it'll do at 400. Run it at 400 and see what happens. But yeah, I hate messing with my settings, but I thought I had it saved. Apparently I did not. Yeah, Chris, I'm guessing the galvanometer, the speed at which the galvanometer moves, which when the galvanometer moves, the speed that it's moving is going to be different than the speed at the end of the beam. If you see what I'm saying? Like, so I don't know if Lightburn calculates speed different or what, but yeah, I will tell you that just because 500 millimeters a second was good in Lightburn, it doesn't always dictate to 500 over here. So, and to be honest, rather than trying to figure it out, I just been doing power and speed testing in both softwares, and that was going to be a little hotter. See a little more flickering. So maybe why not have to go back to 45. But once I get these engraved, all I got to do is stain and clear coat, and I'm good to go. Oh, that got a little hot. Bump it up about 50 and we'll rock with it. About 450. Just a touch faster, I think we'll be good. Smoke's not near as bad since I connected that cable, by the way. Oh yeah, knock about 50 off of that, it'll be good to go. So 450 it is. So yeah. So now we just got to do how many more? So I got one successful, so 13 more after this one. And then I get to move on to the staining coating part of this. So how y'all been? Any questions? Jack said I helped Jim change the source on his 20-watt laser to a 100-watt JPT M7 MOPA. His new 100-watt source runs on 24 volts. Mine was 48. What I mean, was the input to it 48? Or was the input on yours 24 and it was just using a 48-volt power supply? Because technically, it may be that it can run on 24 or 48. It may be splitting the 48. Who knows? Ooh, got a little flammage. That is running the 450 at 85% power with 3 passes. I think this is should be the last pass, I think. We still haven't timed any of them. Ow! Kind of wish I had a pedal for this one. They make one, but they didn't send me the pedal. Matter of fact, while we're engraving, take you over here and show you. Oh, wait a minute. Take you over here and show you the website there. So this is the one that I've got. Except mine is a 60-watt. So it's a 60-watt MOPA with 40-watt diode. The blue diode, of course, is what we're using today. But yeah, they got see, they got a little pedal right there. I didn't get that. If Gweike watches this video, I need this. Please send me that, because I like my buttons and switches. But as you can see, they got all kinds of, they got this grocery conveyor. I've got it. Not a fan. I don't really care though about those, but anyway. So yeah, I do have the chuck. The chuck's pretty awesome. It doesn't have a pivot, but there are times where having a pivot is not really necessary. And with the focal length of this machine, I find that it's not that critical. This thing's very forgiving. The only thing that I will fault them on so far with this machine, and I don't know if it's going to be fixed later, is, as many of you probably have noticed, there is no light in the work area. And I don't know why that is. That seems like, to me, if you look at some of these pictures, machine's done. If you look at some of the pictures, it looks like it has a light, but it doesn't. Oh, wow. I got a little hot. But to hit that with the sander a little bit, might have to go back up. Difference in wood. Woo. I think I'm gonna be able to use it, but I'm going to back that back down. I'll put this one in with the ones that's getting stained. That little bit of brown won't be noticeable. Ah, that piece of wood just burned a little better than the others. That's no good. We'll rock it back up to 600. Heck, I can't have that happening a whole lot. This is where I need my button. Yeah, I've thought about getting me some lights and putting them in there, but I mean, I'm doing okay right now. But I don't really understand why they didn't put a light in there. It seems like that would kind of be a no-brainer. But again, this is a new machine. But I like it so far, so can't complain. Yeah, I've thought about it, Chris. Like I said, I hadn't pulled the trigger on it yet. I've actually considered getting, they make like ring lights, and I thought about trying to see if I could figure out whether or not I could fit one of those ring lights up in there. Maybe even if I had to 3D print like a bracket or something for it to mount a ring light up around the lens. But like I said, I've been busy, and I've still got stuff backed up. We're gonna rock it right there. I got good depth, good color. Yep. We're gonna leave that right there. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna save this file when I get out of it, but you have to when you save a setting on here, it's got the way the material library works is kind of weird. You've got like a project material library and a global material library. And when this one finishes, I'll show you what I'm talking about. And if you don't save it to the global, like when you find your settings, you won't know it when you open another project and it brings that global settings in. Your updated settings aren't going to be in there. And that was something that I actually had to email them about. And I'm like, hey, how can I? Because I couldn't save none of my settings. They were saving in the project, but they wouldn't save like when I opened the software. And they finally told me, sent me back an email, but like literally the day before they sent me the email back, I accidentally discovered where the settings were or where you had to save that at. So I was able to fix it myself, but it's not real. Like I said, it's some more of that stuff that this software is more of I guess you could say a commercial like software. But let me show you right here. So when you go in here, this material, like the material parameters, this is not for this is not for the whole software. This is just for this project. You have to go over here and let's see, where's it at? Right here where it says global material parameter library. You have to go here because if you look right here, Pine is still showing 750. So if I want to save it on the global, I have to go in here and make those changes. So like I can go in here and then hit save, and now it's saved on the global. So this is more or less just like this material parameters right here. When you start the software, it will bring in the global, but then any changes you make here, if you don't go in there and change it, this stays with that file. It doesn't go anywhere else. Like I can let's go to something I'm never going to do probably. Well, we'll go to other D. So if I go to other D right here, and I'm going to rename it to test settings. All right. And hit save. Now, when I go in here, It's right there. Hit save again. It's right there. But and it'll be there every time I open this file. Every time I open that, this will be right there under number 19. All right. But if I go over here to the global setting material library to 19, nothing has changed. So that's where that was driving me nuts, because I was like, where's my settings? Where I know I saved them. Where did they go? And so I finally was just going through here, learning the software, deep diving everything. And that's when I found that under advanced. And I was like, okay, like you can change so much on this machine. Like there's the settings for the frame are right there, which I don't want to mess with. Like you can, here's your, for those of you that have ever calibrated a Galvo, here's where your core file goes. For the red, there's a core file for the blue. Like there is so many different settings in here. Here's your port settings. These are for the different triggers, like the switch, focus control, all the things. Like this software is pretty robust. Height measurement, of course. This is like a calibration. They send you a calibration card. It uses the camera and the dots to calibrate the height, like when you're setting the focus and stuff. So, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. See, here's total processing time, total number of parts, maximum speed, all the things. Like it's a pretty complex software, but you got to learn it, because I'm coming from Lightburn. It's taking me a little while. Yeah, and I agree, Chris. Like I said, it makes sense if you look at it from a commercial, like a corporate like setup. It makes sense having two libraries like that. And one thing too that I do like is, let's say you make a change, like you said, because you got a batch of material and maybe it was wet, and so you changed your settings for this job, but you don't want it to necessarily change your settings for, every job to come. It makes sense that you would have two segregated libraries like that, but it's just not something I was used to, and it threw me for a loop. Boom. I want to use this little, I don't know what made this pattern on the wood, but I want to use this one. Losing my mind over there trying to put it in wrong. All right. Here we go. It says total estimated time's 87 seconds. So that's like a minute and a half. Yeah, I don't know what was up with that one, but it's an interesting look for the wood. So. Oh, and if y'all hadn't been paying attention, look over there. I got them twinning. They twinning. So, I told y'all that I had bought my P2S, and I bought the P2S, and then like a week after I got the P2S, they came out with the X2D, which I'm not gonna lie, I'm not one to grab the latest and greatest machines a lot of times, especially if I'm having to like spend my money on it. And so I was a little like, man, I probably should have waited a little while, but at the same time I was like, but I know the P2 is a good machine, so I'm good with that. And I didn't know all the differences with the X2D and the P2S, but I didn't see it being a big deal breaker. But then the other day I was able to emailing with my contact from Bamboo, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of hate that I bought the P2S, you know, a week before y'all came out with the X2D. And so they offered to send me the X2D. So I'm like, okay, yeah. Looks good with the little dots. Woohoo. That's where I need the button. So I got the X2D now, and I like it. It's basically the P2S with a little finer tuned resolution, I guess you could call it. Like the quality, from what I can tell, they claim that the belts that they're using and everything give it a little more resolution. The only big differences are the bed, the chamber heat, and that extra little nozzle. And the extra little nozzle does make using two filaments much faster. It is definitely, because I've done the same thing using the X2D as I did with the P2S using the support filament, and it's much faster if you use it with the X2D because of that little flip down nozzle. So Mark said he wants a contact to send him printers. Hey, it happens. I was the first time I ever had a company reach out like and say, hey, we want to send you this. I was like, okay, I've spent all these years working internet crime and scams and all that. So I was like, this is a scam. So I just deleted the email. Well, then they started getting more and more frequent. And so this thing is stuck. I don't know if my little koozie shrunk or the monster can got bigger, but that was rough. But the first time they sent me an email, I was like, yeah, okay, right, whatever. And it took me a little while to get comfortable with working with these companies. And I'm still hesitant on a lot of stuff, but you get all kinds of offers. Like, I think I had 8 this morning, but yeah, it's every day you get an email now. It's like somebody wants to send you something else, and sometimes just some of the weirdest things. It's like, do you even watch my videos? I mean, they want to send me like you get these things where they're like, hey, we're going to send you this hot water bottle for first aid, or well, I'm like, what? I mean, do I look that? Am I that busted up that y'all think that's what I do on my YouTube channel? So, and then like furniture stuff, which sometimes I'm like, but it ain't worth it. So I've gotten a lot more selective than I was in the early days, because I'm not gonna lie, when they first started wanting to send me stuff, I was like, heck yeah, I'll take it. Why not? Because it was fun. I was doing it for the fun more so than trying to make money with it, or getting the nice stuff, because I was literally getting honeycombs. Well, I was getting laser honeycombs. I was getting just air assist pumps. Like, this is back before machines came with air assist pumps. I was getting air assist pumps, honeycombs, those cloth enclosures. You know what I'm talking about? Look like a tent, like a little grow tent or something. I did a lot of those. Like, that's because that's where, I mean, when your channel is small, you get small stuff, and then as the channel grows, you get bigger stuff. Maybe if I'm lucky, one of these days, Ford will reach out and be like, hey, we want to send you a truck. I doubt it, but you never know. Chris said, when do we see the review of the giraffe toenail clippers? I'm not doing it. Milton over at EBT Tech Reviews. I know Milton. Milton's a cool dude. Like, we hang out with him when we go to CES, but he's been reviewing smart toilets. I can't, guys. I just can't. This is not my thing. I don't know. I don't know how he does it, but hats off to Milton that he can do that stuff, you know. But yeah. I'm gonna be honest with you. I wish I could get one of those companies to send me one of those little electric bikes. I actually wouldn't mind having an e-bike. Steve's making me jealous with his e-bike. If y'all haven't watched Steve's outdoor channel, he's got himself a Sasquatch proof e-bike that's got the electric assist and everything. And you know, since my knee surgery, I've been slowly rehabbing my knee, trying to get my strength back. And of course, my back surgery, I try to keep my shoulders and my back in decent shape, because the more of the force that the muscles and stuff in your back and your shoulders can absorb, the better off the joints are. And so I've been trying to get back into a little bit of shape because I got way out of shape for a brief period there. And so I could really use one of those bikes. But these companies, I have one company want to send me a trike, which I was like, okay, I can pedal it. You know, I'm going to look like grandpa, but I can pedal it. But they never sent it. Woo! Smoke situation is a lot better in here than it was earlier. Jack said his toilet does not need an IP. Hey, it comes with a smart camera and all, Jack, so it can let you know when you're done. Put that in your bathroom. Your toilet's got a camera on it. You think people worry about their TVs? If you look around in your toilet's got a camera, that'd be a mess. But yeah, I'm like I said, I started to this morning. I've been doing a little better about my weight and trying to watch what I eat and stay away from breads and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm trying to get back in decent shape. I'm not going to be doing no running because my back doctor basically told me that all the running I've done in my life has probably contributed to my discs being all busted up. So yeah, Jack, last thing you need is a toilet trying to evaluate everything. It's still getting a little dusty in here. We still have not timed one of those. Let me get my timer out. I guess I could go back in the video and look. All right. Yeah, that took some coordination. What's up, Brad? How are you, sir? It's taking about 30 seconds to pass, it looks like. So that should be about a minute and a half per engrave. What's going on, Brad? How are you, sir? 36 seconds. $55, 56 seconds. See you, Jar Santa. Have a good one, sir. Oh, writing safety policies. Man, I used to hate that. Writing policies and procedures, dealing with the attorneys. No, thanks. Glad I've moved on. 1:20. Minute and 30. So yeah, I was a little slow, but it was like a minute and 30 when it finished. So when this machine says the 180 what did it say, 180 seconds or 190 seconds? Yeah, the machine's saying 87 seconds. 90 seconds would be a minute and a half. So that's pretty, the estimation on the software it's pretty accurate because it's showing, it says 87 seconds and it says it's 16 seconds into it. So yeah. So it's pretty close. The estimation is not far off. Of course, the longer the engrave is, probably the variation would be more, but yeah. Ken's saying that what's he saying? I have to run out and pick up the camper to get ready to head out this Sunday for a week in the mountains. First time, have to de-winterize it first. That's cool. Yeah, I have considered getting a camper before, but I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I got enough stuff with wheels in my yard between the tractor, the lawnmower, the buggy, the trailers. I got 3 trailers. I got my truck. I got my little Trailblazer. I mean, we got so many things in the yard, and I don't have enough flat space to park everything. And I really don't ever take off work enough to justify it. Like, I'm having to make myself take trips because I'm so task oriented that I don't really do much outside of this shop. This is just kind of my thing. I'm gonna do a quick inventory while this one runs here and see how many we got, because we gotta have 15. So let me go check this. It's 4, 6, 8, 10, and yes, I'm using my CNC as a table. I just don't know about this one that got overcooked a little bit. I may wind up not using it. I may wind up sanding that down. So that is 12 with that one that's engraving. So this will be 13. 14 and 15. And then I'll have 3 leftovers that I really have nothing to do with. I may make those. I've got the peach jam coming up this month. I may make those with something non-Father's Day, or just take them like they are and engrave them at the event. Go ahead and hit start again. So that is a total of 12 done. That'll be all 15 of those once those get done. And I do have a few extras just in case they need more. I got something in my eye this morning. Yeah, oh, I forgot about the boat too, because it's sitting on a trailer. It's got tires on it. I have so many tires in my yard. It ain't even funny. But yeah, I'm hoping to get the boat in the water here soon. It's been raining a lot lately, so I'm gonna give it a little while, let all these logs that got washed down in the river get somewhere. And hopefully And like this week, my daughter's having to go to driver's ed stuff, and so that's kind of hindered us a little bit. But I think next week maybe we can go. But yeah, I'd like to have a camper one day. My plan is if I'm gonna go buy me a camper, travel like that whole summer. Like just I'm gonna go everywhere I want to go that whole summer, and then at the end of the summer, I'm gonna sell a camper before I have to winterize it. I figure that's the that's the best way to do it, right? I mean, that way you get it, you drive it around, use it, and then just get rid of it when you get through using it. I feel like that way I ain't gotta like find a place to park it here at the house because I'll be always moving it, taking it places, doing it that way. You see, there's another little imperfection in that wood there. A little bit of extra sap burned a little black, but yeah, it happens. That's why like I said, that's why I make extra just in case. But I think that one will be fine. I'll hit it with a sander. Packing the house to move to Fayetteville. It says AT. Where's AT at? Is it supposed to be an AL? I know there's a Fayetteville in Alabama. Arkansas. Okay, AR. But yeah, so if you got any questions about the machine, guys, like I said, this has been a pretty decent little machine. As you can see, it gets some stuff done. It's not the first of its kind or anything, but I think it has a smaller footprint too. If you look, it's sitting next to my Omni One, and so it's not a very big machine as far as taking up room in your shop or whatever. So I think that's something that's pretty cool about it. Now, if you was to try to use their little grocery conveyor, it takes up a good bit of room. Boom. But yeah, it's doing a good job. Doing a good job. Now I just got to spray them. Stain them up. Oh. And I'm hoping I get to do a little bit more stuff here pretty soon. Go ahead and remove that. Oh, I got a hair or something in the corner of my eye. It's driving me nuts. So what does the rest of y'all have going on today? I see a lot of you are at your job. Sorry about that. Well, Chris, I actually haven't been to the hospital that many times lately. I had that one incident with my knee. That was a very unfortunate situation. I'm hoping not to have any more like that, though. So what y'all think? Does my area over there look better? Because I had to redo some stuff. I had that big sign, that big Clack Shack sign over there up around that 10, but I needed that real estate to go vertical with some storage. So I had to redo my storage over there to give me a little bit more room because I'm out of room. Like I got no more room whatsoever in this place. Let me turn some of these fans off now. There we go. Oh, that turned out good. Down there. So all together, that's 15 with the father on there. Let me turn my other fan off too. Whew, still a little smoky in here. It ain't bad. It's a little, it's got a little bit of that bar room-esque hue to it in here. So now I got to stain all of those except for four. Four of those are just going to be clear coated. The other ones will all get stained. So we're going to be working on that here in just a few minutes. But I guess I could hang out. I ain't got nowhere to go yet. Brad says, speaking of that area, I see the new printer sitting there. Nice. Yes, Brad. We discussed it earlier, but I think it was before you got here. That is the new Bamboo Lab X2D. They released that one right after I bought the P2S. So I've got the P2S on this side, and then on that side, I got the X2D, which is good because I've got my A1 still, but I've got to where I don't use it, especially this week since I got two machines in a case now. Because I was using the Bamboo Lab, and I started noticing I was getting a little bit of like, almost like it had contaminated filament in it. Because every now and then it'd be like a dark colored, like little piece of charred filament like pop out, and it'd be stuck to the side of my engrave. Well, I got to doing some watching and paying attention, and what was happening was because this is an actual shop where I do work, unlike some places. You know, people have their 3D printers in a basement shop where they, you know, maybe it's segregated from the other shop. Like Steve. Steve's got his stuff segregated to where his 3D printers aren't in the dusty environment of the shop. Which, if I had room, so would I. But I don't have the room, so all my stuff has to cohabitate. Well, I got to pay attention, and what I was seeing was the spools on the AMS were collecting dust. And best I can tell is that dust, it's, you know how dust sticks to those thin plastics and stuff. The dust was sticking to the filament and then winding its way into the hot end, and then it would kind of get trapped in there and basically get cooked, mixed with some filament or whatever. And then it was showing up as like almost like little burnt spots in my prints. So I've kind of decided that I needed something enclosed out here instead of the open, because I haven't had that problem with the same rolls of filament. Haven't had that problem with the P2S. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the A1. It still works out here. You just can't leave filament sitting on it because the filament just sits there collecting dust. So what I did is I took all the filament off of it and I sprayed it off real good with an air hose, get the dust off of it, and I bagged it just until I get to where I need it. If I need to run the A1, I can. But right now, between these other two guys over here, I got enough of a workforce now that I can not run the A1 for a little while. So you never know. But yeah. But that's where I'm at. But yeah, that is the X2D. It has the two nozzles, it has bed heating, and it has a little bit of an upgrade in the drive system that supposedly makes it do a better job of printing. I mean, my P2S does a really good job, so it's kind of like hard to say if it's an upgrade yet, but more run it, maybe I'll figure something out. But I think I'm all up on 3D printers at this point. I do have the Laserpecker X1 that I got to get reviewed, and I've got the Creality Falcon A1C, which is a little small machine that I got to do a review on. And I told Bamboo that I would be doing a video eventually on the X2D, but I got some time with it first. So yeah. So it was, like I said, it's nice that like my build plates and stuff are interchangeable between the X1, X2D and the P2S. I do like that. Everything, like even the parts, like the little accent pieces that I printed, like those are the same print file. So it's basically the same printer. So, what are those that you've engraved? Those are hat boxes. Matter of fact, let's go over here right quick before I forget, before we get out of here. Let's go over here, and I changed the settings to 600. So I'm gonna go over here to the where's that? Global Material Library. And I'm gonna go to my setting for pine. Where is my setting for pine? Make sure I change that to 600. Hit save. Yep. And then I'm gonna close. Actually, I guess I could save this also, and then close their software. So yeah, good to go on that. Those are hat boxes. Let me get the video, or not the video, the website pulled back up to show you. I should have just downloaded that picture a while ago. They hold hats, and I got a business partner, I guess you could say. It's not really a business partner. I work with them. It's a local company here near me, and I work with them on products, and they occasionally will reach out and be like, hey, can you make these? We're thinking about doing a thing for Father's Day, or we're thinking about doing a thing for Mother's Day, or whatever. And so this is what they do. They set, and you put your hats in them, because a lot of people, and I'm not one of them, but a lot of people do wear a lot of hats, keep a lot of hats. That's not me. I don't do it, but other people do. And so I don't make for me. I make for other people when they're paying. So this is what they do. And so I made those 2 prototypes right there. And then I made these graphics and sent to them and was like, hey, these are what I've got. As far as these graphics, I did this in Lightburn, so I could go in and make changes to these to, if they had like Poppy, whatever, I could, with some caveats, go in and create different ones of these. And so these are the 6 graphics that I ended up coming up with, but they took and posted those on their Facebook page, and basically took pre-orders. And you can see here, these are all the people commenting that they want one. They want, sitting in an order now, blah, 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 whatever. And so I made 2 of them as prototypes, sent them to them, and then they ordered like 25. So like I told them I would make these and sell them to them as is for $20 a piece. So that way I don't deal with customers. I deal straight with them. If they tell me they want one with this on it or that on it, that's what I do. I'm not making a killing off of it, because I leave, especially with something like this, I leave a little bit of room for them to make money, because the way to do it, if you want to do the B2B stuff, is they have to make money also. Like, I can't be the only one making money, because if these will sell, like, I'm pretty sure they're selling them for 30 a piece. These will sell for $30 a piece, and I could sell them for $30 a piece, but they came to me, want me to make the product and sell it to them. So I'm not going to cut their throat on, oh yeah, I'm going to take this and run with it on my end. So I'm going to provide them with it. But the cool thing is because I am purchasing this and selling it to them, technically it's business to business. I'm so it takes a lot of the headache of dealing with customers, collecting credit card payments, doing all the things. It takes that pressure off of me. I'm dealing with them. They tell me I need this many. I make that many. I send them to them. They send me a check or deposit it into my checking account. And so to me, it's a better setup than me selling them myself, because then I got to worry about people coming and getting them. I don't have a storefront. I'm out working out of my backyard. So with them, they have a business, they have a pickup location, they have point of sale. Plus, they're going to sell them the hats like this, because they make these hats too. I don't do these; they they do them themselves. But they're going to sell them a hat to go in it. So they're going to, I think what they're doing is they're doing like a t-shirt, hat box, like a Father's Day bundle, and selling it that way. So, but anyway, I'm just making this part, and yeah, I thought it was just going to be a handful of them, and then it was like 20 something, which it's not that big a deal, but I'll make a little money. I miss a comment. Try to catch on the comments here. Let's see what we got. Jack says, I had an order for 155 parts, small parts with a 1/4 inch hold that holds 1/4 inch pin, tram bar for CNC. I printed them in PETG, all on X1 they called, and 80 of them fit perfect. Ooh. 86 are loose at the point of falling off. Huh. Well, depending on what material you used, I mean, you know, a lot of this material, it's going to cool, it's going to shrink, it's going to do different things. Like, and that's one reason why I kind of wanted to get a printer with the internal heating, is because now I can print ASA and all the engineering filaments I can print in that machine. Now that stuff's not cheap. The ASA I think is $40 a roll, as opposed to like 15 for PETG or PLA. So that was one reason why I wanted that machine after watching some videos and researching it. And it also has to where you can put the calibration plate in it, and it uses the camera on the head to calibrate the work area and better calibrate the steppers and everything. So I mean, it does have some advantages over the P2S. So I do like that. So, any questions? What else y'all got going on? Do I need to go ahead and start staining? Because I need to stain all but one of the father ones. Let me just go ahead and set my clear ones over here on this table. All right, so we'll set all the stained ones that's got to be stained. I'll set them over here. All right, so I got to have all my fathers except for one. Whew. So, well, I got my 3D printers over here drying filament right now. That's one thing I like about the new AMS Pros or whatever, is the fact that it's sitting over there right now drying its own filament, and I ain't had to take the filament out of it to do it. That is a big plus in my book. All right, so because I think this one looks so cool, they wanted one unstained. I think I'm gonna leave that one unstained. So all of these don't get nothing. These those get clear. This is the one that I'm gonna try to salvage, that one that we got a little hot with. So on the dad ones, I got one going clear, one getting stained. So we'll do that one clear, do that one stained. The stepdad and the son are both getting stained. So I only got a total of 4 that are being not stained. Well, that worked out, I reckon. All right, so I got 4 getting just clear. 1, 2, 3, 4. Everything else is getting stained. So everything on the table over here has got to get stained. What up, Ryan? I got Peach Jam coming up at the end of June. I got to start getting ready for. So that's one thing. I made extra little hat boxes. I'll engrave them, take them to Peach Jam, see if I can sell them. Or I'll just take them to Peach Jam and see if I can engrave them and sell them. There, we'll see. So I got 14, 1, 2. Yep, got a whole bunch of staining to do. So y'all want to hang out and watch me stain? Put the laser glasses up now, kind of. So I guess we could do that. Get y'all Whoop, whoop. Uh-oh. Hang on. Let me do it this way. Stop screen. Let me share that camera on this other side over her. Let's see what we got here. Add extra camera. It ain't gonna. I don't think it's gonna let me do it. It ain't gonna let me change that other camera. Sit here and fall asleep. Hey, don't be talking bad about me now, Ryan. Hey, I don't try to overachieve, man. I ain't trying to make y'all think I got it like, you know, I ain't like some folks that's like, oh, I'm somebody. A lot of y'all got nicer stuff than I got. Now, I have managed to weasel my way into the good graces of a few companies. I mean, I got that benefit. I'll give you that. But yeah, a lot of you guys got more crap than I got. Definitely got more space. I'm over here tripping over stuff, trying to get something done. But I enjoy what I do, and to me, makes it all worth it. And about time to put some more gloves in my box right there. Little light. So I enjoy what I do, and it is fun. And for those of y'all that like talk about me using my CNC as a table, y'all about to have a field day, because I got to have somewhere to put these things after I get them done. So I think that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to take my CNC here and use it as a table today, because today I have no CNC jobs to do. So it's just going to be sitting over here dormant. So I need, let me go ahead and fix this camera situation. Yeah, Jack, I pulled my door trim slap off of my shop over here the other day just so I could be a part of the cool kids club over there with Ryan and them. Let me show you. Let me show you over there. So look at that right there. Ain't no trim on that. Ain't a bit of trim on it. It's just a door casing sitting in there on the wall. So yeah, and I mean, I had thought about putting trim on it, but then they shamed me into not doing it. So now I guess I can be a member too, Kata, since I don't got no trim on my door. All right. Earn me a good application one. I'm gonna need several. Oh, that's a tiny one. I'll leave that in there. I'm gonna need several wiping ones. But yeah, let me see how these work out over here. Every one of these has got to get some stain. Well, the good news is, though, if I'm going to be staining them, I ain't got to worry about sanding them necessarily after I engraved them, because you ain't going to see no tan stain after I get through putting this stuff on here. It does mute the engrave. Me personally, I don't like them stained as much as I do clear, but hey, you know what? I ain't the one buying them. So I do, like I said, try to get some of this black down in that engraving so it looks a little better. I did sand all of these, like everywhere except where I engraved them the other day before this video. So I ain't gotta resand it now. You know, I could touch it up if it was a problem for the engraved area, but other than that, I'm good. So this is the kind of crap that I do all day, every day out here in the shop. And I know a lot of folks, because I hear it, you know, people comment on my videos sometimes. Yeah, you don't do real woodworking over there. You just do YouTube videos, which it's not true. As you can see here today, it's not true. I do make a lot of videos, but this was I did woodworking jobs and stuff long before I started making YouTube videos. And even though I do make a little bit of money off of the content and stuff, I like doing the work. So I'm gonna let that sit for a minute. Well, I better not. It'll get dark. This is gonna go through a lot of rags doing this. At least the part where the engrave is. I'll go ahead and wipe it down. But I enjoy doing it. I like my little operation I got going. I'm gonna be honest with you, I may wind up just spraying these after all, because there's a lot of corners. It's gonna be a lot of clear coat trying to run. So I may wind up spraying them. Show you what this one looks like. Woo. So it's not bad. Like I said, this stain right here, it does a decent job of keeping the engraving noticeable. Now, if you get it just right light, of course, it'll kind of try to disappear. But this Minwax Early American, it has a black pigment in it. That the good news is it does keep your engraves alive. The bad news is sometimes if you have like a scratch on a piece of wood, and even though you sanded it and mostly sanded it out, that black pigment will cause that scratch to still show up. So it scared me for a minute there, but then I realized I had some that they ordered them with no engraving. So, which is fine with me, because it's the same price with or without the engraving. And that's another thing that I like with the business to business stuff is, you know, I can price it and just say, hey, I'll sell them to you if you want this, any one of these 6 engravings right here put on it, or plain or whatever. I'll do it for X amount of dollars. And because I don't care if they don't want it engraved, that's cool. But the ones that I don't have to engrave, that's just a little bit of time savings on my part. So it kind of technically bumps up my profit, because, you know, less time equals more profit. But I don't have to keep up with it either, because it's a blanket price. When you're dealing with another company like that, it works out good, because they know up front what they're going to be out as far as their money starting out. Now, I did tell them the other day, after they asked me about making the job and asked me about the prototype, I did tell them, I was like, hey, if y'all don't sell these, if y'all don't put them on y'all's site, don't be surprised if they don't show up on mine, because I felt like this would actually be a decent project around here this time of year. And I was right. See this one? Yeah, this stuff's messy. Yeah. Chris said that black pigment makes the grain really pop. Yeah, it looks good on pine. I've got a whole rack full of different colors over there, but most of them are like the little quart containers. I go through about a gallon of this. I would say a month, but I don't think it's quite a month. I go through a gallon about every 2 months. I go through a gallon of this this particular color stain. My place that I buy it from, you can go in there. It's weird because it's a little local hardware store, and you can go in there and like all the other stains, you know, they got it in like the little quarts and stuff. And then you go over and look, and they got the they got this. I got 4 gallons of it, and they're just piled in there, because when they pull up their inventory system or whatever, they see that they're selling so much of it. It's kind of like 6 months ago, you could not buy a gallon of Type Bond 3 anywhere in here where I live. They only sold the little squeeze bottles of Type Bond. And so I went in there, I talked to the little manager, and I'm like, hey, what do you think the chances of me getting a gallon instead of having to buy these small bottles? I want to keep buying it from you guys, but the difference between the gallon and these squeeze bottles for what I do, I'm losing money buying it squeeze bottle. And so she got to looking, and she's like, oh yeah, that gallon's a lot cheaper than the squeeze bottle if you're using that much of it. Because I was buying like 2 bottles of Type Bond a month. And so she's like, yeah, we can get it for you. And so now you can go into the Russell Do-It Center here in Clanton, Alabama, and you can buy a gallon of Type Bond 3. But typically they're only going to keep like 2 gallons in stock because I think I'm the only person buying it. But you can get a gallon of Type Bond here now. I might not be the only person buying it now that they've got it, but I was the reason they started carrying it. What are they, Clack? Ballard, you late, man. These are little hat boxes. I can't show you because I got my gloves on. My hands all covered in stain, but they hold hats. I did show everybody earlier in the video. My friends over at This and That Vinyl, they're the ones that make my t-shirts. So if you want to go over there, look at their page or whatever, and get you an orange Clack Shack shirt, feel free. They do make those and sell them. I don't make anything off the shirts. I let the ladies at This and That keep all the profit. That way the shirts are cheaper. You pay the same price for your shirt as I pay for mine. So just know that when you go, if you go buy one of those shirts, just know that's what I pay for it. I don't make no money off the t-shirts. And the reason I do that is because I think it's cool that you guys actually would want to wear my t-shirt. So I'm not going to try to make money off of it. I just want the folks that want one to have one. Oh, this is a lot of work. I might have underpriced these, I'm going to be honest with you. The stain, it stains a booger. But now, yes, before anybody sees it and asks, yes, I did put the sticky feet on them before I stained it. You want to know why? Because if I had $1 for every time I sold something that had these little sticky dots right here on it, that the dang sticky dots didn't, like they popped off or whatever, I'd have quite a few dollars. So they're on the bottom. And so I've gotten to where I put them on before I do the stain, before I do the clear coat, before I do anything. Because if nothing else, the clear coat is going to glue them babies on there and they ain't coming off. but if I spray them, it won't be as bad. But yeah, they're already on there in case you're wondering. That's why they're, but yeah. But I'll probably end up spraying these with a rattle can. I think currently I've got 4 cans of Minwax semi-gloss back there. I'll probably use that. I try to keep a little bit of that stuff in. I haven't been using a lot of polyurethane lately. I've been using mostly polyacrylic. So be a good time to maybe use that, because these are going to be indoor. Like I said, we're going for rustic. I just need them to be sealed a little bit. And with all these corners, if you've ever put polyurethane on something, all these corners are going to make it want to try to run. Now, I also could use lacquer, but if I'm going to do lacquer, I'm doing it outside. That stuff will get you. That stuff will get you buzzing. Lacquer tends to not run as much, but I'm pretty sure these are going to get a rattle can. I need some music, but I can't play music while I've got y'all guys live because they'll fuss at me on YouTube. Come over here where I see the comments. Y'all don't make fun of my belly jiggling. I still got a little ways to go. Our Battler says I was install solar panels on my house. It's been a few hours before it got too hot. Too hot? Ain't you up in like north somewhere? Ballard, come on now. You don't get hot up there. What is it, like 80 degrees with 30% humidity? Come on now. Sound like Steve talking about it's hot up there in Minnesota. Maryland, mid-80s. Man, mid-80s is picnic weather, dude. Oh. Let me get this one wiped down. I'll show y'all what this will look like. This one's deep. See that knot right there? We was talking about them imperfections. Yeah, we're going to rock that right there. It's rustic. Rustic decor. Believe it or not, this is a funny story. I'm going to have to come over here and tell y'all this one. When I first started making stove covers, and I had a couple of, matter of fact, it's the company that I make them for now. They said, hey, could you make us a stove cover for our business? And could you, we want you to do one every time we sell a house. And so I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And they're like, well, make one where I can show it to my boss and get him to approve it, because this is something that I'm wanting to try to do, and I kind of need to, get him to approve it. Can you just make like a generic one and let me show it to him? So that's why I come up with my my home sweet home stove cover design that I have. I still use that same design to this day. And so yeah, I was like, all right, yeah, heck yeah. So man, I'm in here, and when I tell you, I was like, oh, this is gonna, because this is before, like I was just starting out. Like I'm pawn shopping for tools. Like that's where I bought all my tools. Like most of these tools you see in here come from pawn shop, because I got a buddy that owns a pawn shop. And I knew that if I went in there, like say if I went in there at the first of the month and he had a saw, if I went back in there and that saw was still there, like the first of the next month, it was a bargain to be had. And so I would go in there and be like, hey, you about ready to get rid of that saw you've had sitting out here for a month? And so he'd be like, well, what's it marked at? And I'd tell him. He's like, will you give me this? I'm like, yeah, I'll give that to you. So that's where a lot of my stuff that you see, the DeWalt stuff and all that, that's where it came from. And so I was like, man, if I get this could be like, I could buy some like good tools, because this would be good money coming in if I could sell these pretty regular. And so I spent hours on this stove cover. I did like 4 coats of freaking clear coat. You could see yourself in this stove cover. Like it was awesome. Like it was a work of art. And I set it up there, and she texts me or whatever. It's like, hey, call me. So I call up there, and she's like, hey, that thing looks awesome. It looks good. But he says he thinks that maybe it's 2, because we sell, the theme of our mobile homes is like, we do like rustic, like barn, like we got barn wood accents in the house and stuff like that. And she's like, it's a little too fancy. And I was like, too fancy. And she's like, yeah, it's a little too fancy. So I was like, well, okay. We'll go on. I told her, I said, we'll go on the internet, find something that you think that, and get him to approve it, and something that's not too fancy. And so she sends me a picture, and it's like these things, like it was just like stain and like spray a little bit of sealer on it and call it done. And it had imperfections and little dings and chips and all that. And she sent it to me as like something like this. And so I'm like, okay. So I made one, and like I did the same thing I did on the one that I gave them to start with, but instead of going over it with like, a coat of clear, sanding it, and another coat of clear, sanding it, another coat of clear. I just like stained it and sprayed it with some clear and called it done, and took it up there, and they loved it. And then she comes back and she's like, well, hey, how much more would it cost us to get them this way than the way that you were doing it? And I'm like, I don't know, another $20. And she's like, we'll do it. So the moral of the story is they paid me $20 more to not sand and finish it 2 more times. So basically I did less work and they paid me more because they felt like the first one was too fancy. So that's why I'm telling you, always play to the customer. Like if the customer wants it, whether you like it or not, hey, if you're in it for the money and you're in it for the sale, then do what they want, because they're the ones that's going to write you the check when the job's done. And I've done those stove covers that way ever since. So, and now you are telling them about it. Hey, it is what it is. I don't think anybody up there is going to see it. But even if they do, they know. Now, I will say this, though. That was 4 years ago. And I haven't raised my prices since, so I don't feel bad about it at this point, because materials have went up. Like I should have raised my prices with them on those, but I haven't, because they've been such a good partner to work with over the years that I'm just going to leave it like it is. Now, eventually, if I keep doing them long enough, eventually I'll have to raise the prices, or I won't be able to afford to make them. But currently, in 4 years, I haven't raised the prices on those stove covers since then. So, and to be honest with you, I was only going to charge them $80 for that stove cover when I quoted them that, and I moved it up to $100. So I didn't rip them off or nothing, so I don't feel bad about it. They still got a good deal, and they're still getting a good deal, because now that $100 for them stove covers should probably be $120. It's $125 if I sell one to an individual. But now that comes with, me doing a quick design typically, because most folks don't have a logo or anything like that they want. Sometimes they may be like, hey, I want the logo off of this, and they may send me a file, and it may or may not be something that I that I want to use. But a lot of times I'll just whip up a little quick, established in letters, initials, or whatever, and send it to the machine. But now I can honestly say that I've been doing this for a while, and there's nobody that I've dealt with, that I've worked with, that I feel like have done me wrong or I've done them wrong. I don't do that. If I can't do the job without making money, I just won't do it. And if people don't want to pay me what I want to get, paid, then I just don't do the job. No hard feelings. It's a business decision. It's kind of like right now, Bamboo Lab ain't necessarily the most popular kid on the block, but at the end of the day, I ain't going over to their house and eating turkey with them on Thanksgiving. I'm buying a machine to make money with. So I really don't care to get into the politics of it. And that's what I told my little contact guy. I was like, y'all kind of got a little bit of some controversy going on, but to me, it's a business decision. We're not getting married. I'm not joining their family. We ain't cutting turkey together. I needed a machine to do a job, and they make a good machine. So I got a good machine. The end. I keep my feelings out in my business stuff. Oh, I didn't show y'all that one. Hang on, let me show you this one. Every now and then, the only thing I will say about this stain is every now and then, if you look at that engrave, you can see a little bit, like you get a little bit of bleed through, but it's stained. There's really no way to prevent that. But pine and some of the softer woods, you're going to get that. You're going to get that little bit of, like you can see that little bit of bleed. You're just going to get that with pine. If you want to not get that with stain, now if you're doing paint, you could clear coat it first and stop it. But with stain, if you clear coat it, the stain's not going to stain. That's the whole purpose of it. But you can take, If you use a harder wood, you can stop that. And I've experimented with what's that, sanding spray? It's you spray it on like when you're sanding or whatever to kind of harden up the material. It'll help, but I'm gonna be honest with you, that's just more expense. So I don't ever do it. I try to I try to get a good, nice dark stain. I want to show you on this right here too. See how that's sitting on there? See, when I'm wiping it on, I squeeze the rag as I'm wiping it into the engrave. And when I do, you can see it kind of puddles up in there. And I just leave that in there, let that soak in. It makes it darker than the surrounding wood at the end of the day. I saw one of y'all asking a question. I never get photos of a design that I can use. I always have to rebuild. Yeah. Occasionally it'll work, Jack. Most time they send you some pixelated something or another. No, those, Steve, those are that's a P2S on the left. The lighter colored one is the P2S, and the one on the right is the new X2C. I kind of wish they'd have made them the same color, but the X2C is actually a shade or two darker on the gray spectrum. Other than that, the outward appearances, the only big difference in the two is that the X2D does have the two little windows on the sides. The P2S does not. Externally, that's really the only difference. There is some, you know, the way the Bowden tubes and stuff on the back and the extractor and all that, there is some things on the back that look different, but like from across the room looking at the front of the machine, they look the same except for that window. The screen is the same. The hinges, the door handle, like the trim kit that's on the P2S, the print files is the same trim kit that they used on the X2C. But the internal differences is what sets them apart. The X2C has a internal heated chamber. So like when you're printing like ASA, and it even helps with other filaments, but it's kind of more necessary when you get into the hotter filaments, like the engineering level filaments. But it's got a heated chamber that keeps the internal chamber of the machine at a certain temperature that promotes better layer line adhesion and all that. Not that you can't do the same thing with the P2S. If you keep the door shut and, you know, don't exhaust fumes and all that with the P2S, you can keep it internally warmed up, but it's not the same as having a heater in there. So yeah, it's that the double head, having the head for the support material is kind of the big difference in the two. They say, and I have no way of verifying this, but they're saying that the belt drive system's a little different, that gives it a little more precise movement, which dictates to a little better results with the X2C than the P2S. But that's going to be a very minute difference. I think the only time you would even notice it would be if you were trying to make, like what Jack was saying earlier about making parts and having them be exactly the same size and fitting. There are upgrades supposedly with the X2C that makes that a lot more easy to accomplish. Not that you can't do it with other machines, it just makes it easier. So there's that one. All right, well, y'all have a good one, Mark and Cameron. Y'all be good. The H2D, I'll be honest with you, I didn't really need the one, this X2D, but when they mentioned, hey, we could send it out to you, it's like, okay, you got me, send it, because I felt like it's a bamboo printer. I've never had a bamboo printer that didn't work the way it was supposed to. So I was like, okay, send it. I'll take it. And I'm kind of glad they did, because you know, I do think the enclosed machines are better suited for a woodworking shop, because they keep the dust outside for the most part. I mean, you're going to get some dust inside the enclosure. I mean, it's, you know, if you do like me and you do actual woodworking and CNC and sanding and everything inside your shop, especially if you don't have the room for like a dedicated space for sanding, or, you know, you don't see, like, I don't have like the best of the best dust collection and all that. So, I mean, there's going to be dust in places. So I need printers that can live in this environment and it not kill them. So the enclosed ones are better suited for that. There's still going to be some maintenance with the extra dust and stuff that you're going to have to watch for, but it's a lot less of an issue when it's dusty, when they're sitting inside of their own little case. And I also like that my filament storage, the AMS 2 Pros, are basically dryer boxes. So if you bought some of the other machines on the market, you would still have to get a dryer box, and you would also still have to take your filament periodically off of your machine, prepare it, and put it in said dryer box. So then that's labor that you're having to do. That's basically a job that you have to do. And here in Alabama, with my building being the way that it is, I don't want to have to constantly be like with the A1, you know. I had to take my filament off of the machine and dry it after so many days of sitting out or whatever. If I didn't, I'd start seeing issues with my print, whether it be rough surfaces, bad adhesion, you know, popping, failed layers, whatever the case may be. And 9 times out of 10, the issues that I've had 3D printing, I've been able to track back to filament was wet. Like anytime I have a problem with a print, the first thing I do is dry my filament and try it again. And so far with the Bamboo machines, that has always fixed my issue. So not having to depend on myself to keep my filament dry is a big deal to me. So I like having it to where my filament stays dry. I do print, I don't know if you can see it or not, but the one on the left has orange desiccant boxes in the AMS, and the one on the right has black ones. And the reason that is because the one on the right, being that I'm going to use it for more of my high temperature materials, I needed the desiccant box. Well, I probably could have got away with PETG, because I think the drying temp of PETG and ABS is like, you know, half a dozen, 6 of the other. But I printed the desiccant boxes, and there's probably 1.5 pounds of desiccant in each one of those AMSs to help. Once I dry everything thoroughly, it helps keep it that way. So I like that built-in functionality of the machines. So that's another pro to me, is, like I said, anything that I don't have to maintain every day or every week or once a week or once a month. That's something I don't got to remember, and something I don't got to take time to do. Because I'm bad about, you know, being in here working with something, and I come up with an idea of something I want to 3D print, and the last thing I want to have to do is wait till the next day after I had a chance to dry all my filament to be able to print it. That's a little irritating. So when I get an idea, I like to be Johnny on the spot and go ahead and knock it out. I don't procrastinate. So what's Jack saying? Jack said he will not get another Bamboo. And like I said, and that's everybody's personal preference, you know. That's just, hey, they work. I like my tools, and they work. I don't agree with some. I'm a Ford guy. I have owned Ford most of my entire life. Ford has done things before that I didn't agree with, like Jeep. I don't know if y'all remember it or not. I worked 2 or 3 cases to where people had a wreck in a Jeep, a little minor wreck, and Jeep caught fire, and they didn't make it home that night. And, you know, it was an issue. They knew it was an issue. It was an issue with the fuel pump. When you wreck it, if you hit it just the right angle, the fuel pump ruptured, sprayed on the exhaust manifold, and boom. But, you know, they screwed up on that one, in my opinion. But they wound up paying out a big settlement. You know, people got money from them and they changed their ways, and I still drive Fords. So, like I said, I ain't marrying the company. I'm just using their product. So there's some things that happen. Apple, I use an iPhone. I don't agree with everything that not Bill Gates. I don't agree with everything that Apple's ever done. This machine I'm using is a Windows-based PC. I don't agree with everything Windows ever done. You know, Windows actually had a similar situation when they first made it, if you remember. So did Apple, because the company split and they were fighting over who the software belonged to. And both of them was basically built off of DOS. So at the end of the day, you know. So like I said, I don't get into all that. The courts will sort it out. They'll figure it out. If there's money owed, money will be paid. We can move on. And if a product works, it's a good product. So they come out with a 5-tool changer. Yeah, see, Jack, I don't do enough. Like, I like having the 2 nozzles that I can play around with, but for the little bit of 2 material prints that I do, that's going to be just fine. I mean, I wouldn't mind having. I'm not going to turn down something with more, you know, color capabilities. But I don't make a lot of multicolored stuff around here. Most of mine are, you know, adapters and brackets and holders and things like that are typically going to be black, maybe with a little bit of white or orange, you know, text or something on them. And if I had time to do other stuff, maybe I might do more colored stuff. But currently, 2 colors is about my limit anyway. And it's not a lot of 2 colors. The support material aspect is what I like about the H2 or the X2D, is the support material, to where I can use 2 filaments, one for support material and one for my main print. I think that's going to benefit me more than anything, because I was able last night to print one of my Bigfoots, and I was able to use the PLA support material, PETG PLA supports, and it gave me some awesome results on that. Now, I think my bed temperatures and everything is going to have to be adjusted for the material, because I got a little bit of the corners got a little hot or something. But again, it was new filament. I had not dried it, so I've got both my machines over here right now. After all the moving everything around and adding new filament and all that yesterday, both of my AMSs were up to 20% relative humidity. So I dried them overnight for 12 hours, and then I'm running them again today. When I checked them this morning, both my AMSs were down to 9% humidity. I'm going to try to pull them down to about 5, and then that's where I'll stop. But the reason is it takes so long for me to dry everything out is because I got 1.5 pounds of freaking desiccant in both of the AMSs. So not only do I have 4 kilograms of filament in there that's absorbed moisture, I've also got 1.5 pounds of desiccant that has to expel moisture as well. Because desiccant will do too. It'll dry. It'll absorb the moisture that's in the air of your enclosure. But you got to remember, water is one of those things that it wants to move. If water sees something that's drier, it wants to move from the wet material to the dry material. So as I pull the moisture out of the enclosure, that desiccant will give up moisture into the enclosure. And so it takes a little while longer when you start loading that AMS up with desiccant. It takes a little longer to dry. Yeah, Mark. Let's see. Mark said different material each 2 had. Sounds great. Yeah, it gives you, and I guess I can pick it up because it ain't gonna hurt nothing to get a little stain on it. It gives you the ability. and I'm saving this from my video. This is the supports that from one of my Bigfoots. And you see that little clear layer on top of that? That is the Bamboo Lab support material that they sell. Well, when I took this off the printer, it just popped loose from the build plate. And then this just literally, I just pulled on it and it just lightly popped loose. This is the inside. This is where my supports were connected. These supports, when it printed, these supports were like this. And that just pops off right there. So that's the support surface. And if you've done a lot of 3D printing and you've seen a lot of support surface, that's pretty impressive. That's my support surface right there. Now this one, I did 2 layers, of course, because I used a white to put the Bigfoot text on there. But I had a little bit of scratchiness right here in this corner in the material. And I knew when I hit print that it was at 20-something% humidity inside there, and I should have dried it, but I didn't. So I had a little bit of that, and then I've got just a little bit of peel up on the corners right there. You can see that peel up just a little bit. So I'm drying the filament. I'm going to reprint that same file just to make sure that it was the filament, because that's a file that I print a lot of. I've printed several of them on my P2S. Like, I think I'm probably at 50 or 60 of them on my P2S. So I know what the P2S is capable of with that file. And that's one of the files that I make money off of. And so I need this X2D to be able to print it as well. And once I get my filament dried, I'm going to reprint that and see what the results look like. But I'm confident that that's the issue. That scaliness as well as them corners peeling up, I think all of that was because the filament was a little wet. Because with the internal heater and everything that the upgrades that this X2D has, it should outperform my P2S on that print. And I especially like that whole being able to use that interactive layer. Or what's that layer called? Dang it. Anyway, it's the layer that where the supports and the object touch. That's the layer that's the only place that I really want to use 2 filaments on this machine. Which technically that print used 3. It used the black for the finish up on the text. It used the white for the text, and then it used the support material for the interface, the support interface. So it's technically 3 filaments. Yeah, Jack got me interface. I thought about it before I made it over here, but yeah, Jack had me interface layer. But yeah, that's really the big benefit that I have is the being able to do that. And I've also got some it's not ASA, PVA. I want to try that. So I want to print something that has like internal supports that I can't get to. And then see if I can use just like dissolve the supports away with the PVA. I've actually had the PVA for a long time. But I've never used it. So when I was doing my organization and bringing all my filament and putting in there, I found it and I'm like, I was like, I could have made a video with this. So I'm going to work that into some of my 3D printing stuff. But I've got a couple of things that I could print, and I could put internal supports in there, and it'd be pretty cool. So there we go. We're getting there. And then I got to take them outside because I don't spray clear in here. That stuff I get everywhere. How many more I got to darn? I guess I got quite a few. What's it? 2, 4, 8, 10, 10 more. Good. Now we're gonna be a minute, guys. Any more questions? While I'm standing, I can answer questions, make comments, whatever. Or Jack can answer them. Well, this one's gonna be dark. Some of this wood stains darker than others. It's wild to me. And yes, I drip stain all over this table, but that's okay because I also scratch, cut, and sand this table pretty regular. I'm like I said, this is not a recording studio here, sirs and ma'ams. This is a shop where I make things. Now, people all the time, like I said, you know how they are, trolls out there, especially the ones of y'all that make videos yourself. Trolls out there. You don't do real work. So that's why I decided to bring you guys along today. Instead of just disappearing from YouTube for a day or two and finishing this job, I figured, why not, you know, bring you along, let you kind of see some of the processes. See that I ain't, you know, everybody wants to act like they don't make mistakes and stuff, but I do. What's up, Tranquil? How are you? What color stain are you using? This is Early American by Minwax. It's a brown with black. Like, it's got a lot of black pigment in it, but the black, for some reason, the black only attaches itself in certain areas. And like it helps make the engrave pop a little better. I've used like some maple, colonial stains and stuff like that, and it has a different effect. Early American, if you're working with pine, in my opinion, Early American is the way. It gives it some good character. It actually plays pretty well with stain. Like, it helps the stain show up, kind of. Gerald Grady said, I just went to the hardware store and picked up that color. Well, hey, too bad I didn't have an affiliate link, right? Hey, it's a good color. Like, it does a good job. This is not Alabama pine right here. It does work well with like Alabama pine, because y'all know I got my sawmill and I build stuff with wood from here. But this is just like Home Depot, Lowe's material, and like I said, it does okay. Any wood, if you engrave it with a laser and then put stain on it, a lot of times the stain will kind of mute the engrave, but this performs better than most when it comes to that. You can like paint fill, like black paint fill your engraves as well, but I don't ever do it. Like I said, when I go over, like you see that engrave, see how it's kind of not popping? When I go over it, I kind of squeeze my rag a little and let it get a little bit of stain down in there. And that just sits in there and gets darker. And then I just go around the rest of it. Because if you do a deeper engrave, when you put that stain on there, there's that little valley, that pocket, and that stain just sits in there. And that way, when you wipe the rest of it down, the part of the stain that's in that little pocket can't go nowhere. I'll tell you, one of the hardest things that I tried to do on these, I don't know if anybody else uses Titebond glue a lot. I use the Boss Dog on these because with all these joints being so tight and so close together, and to be honest, I was turning these things out kind of quick. I was afraid I'd have a lot of glue squeeze out, which I did have a little bit. But so far, it doesn't appear the Boss Dog acts as a stain deterrent, because I haven't seen, and I've been calling myself watching, but I haven't seen anywhere near my joints, because I know I had some squeeze out, because like I was putting them together in a hurry, but I haven't seen anywhere. Because with the Titebond, a lot of times you'll get those little spots to where if the glue gets on there, the stain won't penetrate. I'm not seeing that on any of these, which I know darn well. I had some of them that I had a little squeeze out. And yes, I sanded them after I put them together, but typically you'll still have those little muted spots that the stain just won't stick to. And I'm about to have to swap rags. This was going to be the last one on this rag. So I have half pint stain like Steve has glue. Oh, I got quite a bit over there. Oh, I don't have as much as I would have if I hadn't stuck on this and got to where I use this color all the time. But I've got a whole bunch of different Minwaxes over there. I've got some other brands too, but I keep circling back to Minwax. There's a couple of different like textures and colors, like some of the whitewash that I like other companies' stains, but I'm a pretty constant with the Minwax. Well, there you go. Tranquil Mentor. You can do it a lot simpler than what I did here. And I guess I could do a video on that. Like you could literally, if I were going to make just one, I would go get some poplar. Get you a poplar, like a 1x7 or 1x8. It's actually going to be a 1x8, but it's closer to 1x7. And you could take on a chop saw, and you could literally, with a chop saw, if you don't have a CNC, you can use a chop saw, a router table, or just a hand router to do the rabbits with if you wanted rabbits. If you didn't want to do rabbits, you could just cap it. You could just put the end pieces inside and shoot from the front and the back. That's why I didn't do that, because I didn't want the staples on the front. I wanted the staples on the ends. But yeah, you could make this really quick out of like a poplar 1x8. And this part is going to be the only part that might give you a little trouble. If you got a bandsaw, a scroll saw, or anything like that, I mean, it wouldn't be that bad. But yeah, it's semi-transparent. I'm gonna hang on. I'll pick it up and show it to you. That is it right there. Early American, number 230. Semi-transparent. Like I said, I get this stuff in the gallon. I used to get it in like the little quart jars or whatever, but I go through it so much. Like I just bought this one not long ago. Like I use a lot of it. The stove covers, like we got to figure when I do those stove covers, front and back, that's a lot of real estate to be staining. Which these little boxes, if you figure the inside and outside, these little boxes got a good bit of surface area. But yeah, this stuff is this stuff's pretty decent. I want to break out. I guess I want to break out the old scroll saw or the bandsaw one day and just maybe we do a Father's Day video on that. Y'all done got me thinking now. Y'all see, this is how if y'all ever wonder how I come up with videos to make, there you go. Y'all just helped me come up with one. Because I'm thinking I could take this project right here and I could discuss the different ways of doing it. Of course, I've got video of me doing it with a CNC for the CNC folks out there. You could make this with a laser. Be honest with you, it wouldn't be that hard. With 1/4-inch material, if you did 2 layers of 1/4-inch material, you could cut this box out, glue those 1/4-inch pieces of materials together, and you could actually make a piece of 1/2 inch almost wood, which would be more than adequate to do what this thing does, which is just hold hats up. So you could technically make this a CNC, a laser, or just a regular woodworking project. Because all you'd really have to have is either you're going to need a bandsaw, a scroll saw, a jigsaw, or even a palm router. If you had a palm router with just a straight shank bit, you could technically cut that out with a router. Now it'd be a little tough, but I'd probably go with the cutting it. I'd probably go with a bandsaw or a jigsaw, and then just sand it until it got it smooth. We might need to do a video on that. And I can tell everybody, y'all come up with the idea. When it's off the table, does the hat fall through, or would it work too? I had no idea, Jer. Like I said, they sent me a picture of one built and said, "Can you make something like this?" And I said, "Yes, I can." And they said, "How much would it cost us?" And I said, "Let me make one and figure out the process, and I'll let you know." And so I sat in here. I drew up a CNC file. I figured out that I could use my scrap material from my stove covers, which cut down on my material cost. And so I was like, how many are you needing? And she's like, not a lot, but it's probably going to be a few. And I'm like, okay. So I did my math. I had quite a bit of scrap over here. And so I was like, well, I got basically zero material cost, because most of these are made out of pieces of material that was left over from doing my stove covers. And so I took and used that scrap material. And so I told her, I was like, I'll do it for $20 a piece, thinking that I'll be able to use my scrap material for all of them, of course. Well, turns out she ordered so many that I actually did have to go buy 2 panels for $39 a piece to be able to finish the job. But that's okay, because I'm still, at the end of the day, you know, I'm maintaining a customer, and I am making some money. And after all, guys, my check from the state of Alabama will be deposited this month, at the end of the month, regardless of whether I make these boxes or not. So, if you know, that's the one benefit that I have that a lot of guys don't have, is yes, I run a business. Yes, I make money out here, make decent money. I make more out here than I did when I was working. But the cool part about it is, this ain't what feeds me. The money I make here goes back into the business, or I will do owner draws, is what they call it. It's an owner draw. It's not a, it's I don't get a paycheck from my business, but I do draw money out of my business account from time to time to do things with around the house, you know, pay stuff off, do an upgrade, put in a storm shelter, or fix a roof or air conditioner, or whatever. Sometimes I do that. I hadn't done any of that. I've done like buying retirement back, paying vehicles off from the business account, but yeah. So this money out here is just building my business for the most part. So Kevin's asking, do you ever pre-stain? Not really. I'm not sure exactly for what you mean by pre-stain, but do you mean stain it before I cut all the pieces out? Is that what you mean by pre-stain? Because yes, it is a little quicker to be able to just slap it on a board. No, I don't typically. The only time that I've ever really done that I can say for sure is I built a deck one time for my mom-in-law out of sawmill lumber. And because we wanted the sealer to be all the way around the boards when we put them on the deck, not just on the top, we did like put the sealer on them and then flip them and put the sealer on them before we put them on. But typically I stain after I've constructed, if that's what you're talking about. Now, there may be something else that you're talking about that I'm missing. If it is, let me know. Here 1x6 pine and 1x8 pine is pretty regular, so looks like it would be a nice project just for material that is already dimensional. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, if you don't have a CNC, this would be a simple project to do if you had, because they don't have to be, I'm trying to get most of this off. It doesn't have to be the same size as this one. Like this one is 4.5 tall. So yeah, I mean, if you got a 1x6, whether it be pine, poplar, whatever, if you get a 1x6, most of this, you could just literally do this on a chop saw and then take one of the long pieces and make this in there. And then, like I said, me personally, I used my little crown staple nailer, but you could literally use screws. You could use finish nails with a nail setter. You could use I've got a finish nailer over there, but that thing will shoot finish nails through your fingers, and I don't like it. So I don't use it on stuff like this. But yeah, you can make this easily out of some 1x6. And yes, it would be a quick, easy project, even without a CNC. I just did it with a CNC because my dust collection is better on my CNC. And I had the CNC cutting out 8 of them at a time while I was over there testing lasers. Like I sat over here testing these lasers while the CNC cut them out. I put my headphones on, you know, put on a YouTube video. I watched some Ventari's outdoors, or listened to some Ventari outdoors while I worked. And yeah, that's a plug for Steve if you didn't get it. And so I let the machine cut them out. So, but there's several ways you can do it. So I guess I could, like I said, I could go out there to the kiln where my wood is and maybe do a video, like a long video of that. Oh, you talking about yeah, Kevin, I know what you're talking about. They sell it, and it's basically just a wood conditioner, I think is what they call it. That's supposed to like help with bleed and stuff like that. I've saw it, but never really, like I said, I don't do fine furniture, so I've never really been that particular about it when it comes to my projects. But I know what you're talking about. I've seen some, and they sell a wood conditioner for staining. Now I do at times, depending on what I'm doing. Like if I'm trying to make something really nice, like that alien that you see over top of my CNC right there, the one that I 3D carved. Now that I took some extra time with. With that one, I sanded it with hand sanded it with just loose sheets of paper, and I started out with a bristle brush, one of my little bristle brushes from a drill, and then I hand sanded it, and then I water popped it with some water, which is I got a little Windex bottle basically, and I sprayed some water on it to get the grains to stand up. I sanded it again, and I did that like 3 times, and then I went over it with some clear coat, because that alien is actually done out of solid piece of 2-inch thick mahogany, or it was 3-inch thick mahogany. And so I did that to the background. And then the alien himself, I took some whitewash, I think it's Minwax, white stain, and just painted it on there and let it set. And then I went over it 2 or 3 times with the whitewash, trying to give him that gray alien look. And then I took some black acrylic paint and painted the eyes black on that alien you see right there above that TV. Now with that one, I took extra precautions. That was not something, I wasn't trying to go rustic with that one. But yeah, I don't, like I said, if it's something that's really, really, I want it to be fancy, I'll spend a little more time. And like a lot of times too, I will stain, and then I'll go back and sand after I stain, because a lot of times the stain will actually do a water pop on it and give it a little bit of a rough feeling. And depending on what the product is, sometimes I'll go back over it. If it's something like this, I'm not as worried about it, because it's more decorative than it is going to be handled, or I'm not going for want to see yourself in it, look. But if I'm trying to get it to where you can like see yourself in it, then yeah, I'll spend a lot more time with that. Most of my stuff is just rustic, customized stuff. Like I have people bring me goat skins, and they use them for like rugs and stuff, and they want their name engraved on them and so forth. Like there's some, there's some odd customization stuff I've done over here. Bill Hunter said, could you just cut the 1/2-inch wood with a laser? If you've got one that'll cut 1/2-inch, you could, yeah. A lot of people don't necessarily have one that's going to give you a good clean cut on 1/2-inch material. But if you have a big enough machine and you can get a nice, good enough cut, then yeah. It just takes a really big, powerful machine to cut 1/2-inch material and give you a clean cut. But if you had like an 80 or 100 watt CO2, yeah. If you had one of the really powerful diodes that are out there, you probably do it. But I try to keep it, you know, on projects. Now I'll play around. I'll do some thicker stuff playing around and doing speed and power tests and stuff. But on projects, I try to stick with 1/4 inch. Because if you got a piece of 1/2 inch, like regular wood, and you hit a knot, most lasers ain't gonna cut through a knot. Like a pine knot, you hit a pine knot with an 80 or 90 watt CO2, you're probably not gonna cut through that pine knot. The sapwood, yeah, you can cut it. But like these pine knots that are on here, they'll stop a laser right in its tracks. Yep, that's right, Jack. Rustic, people expect it to have flaws. It's a marketing term. But yeah, it works. I learned that. Like I said, and to be honest with you, I stay so busy doing little stuff like this. I have no desire to get into something that is going to take me, because I'm ADHD. Like I can't. If y'all ain't noticed, I like to stay on the move, and I can't stand having to work days and days and days and days and days on a project. So I like small, quick wins. I'll take a $20 project 10 times a day, any day, over a $200 project once a day. It's just, I like being able to move around. Man, that glove was getting soaked over here. So I'm going through some rags. Every time I use one of these rags, that's another little bit of money. Oh, and by the way, I will be taking this trash out after I get through this job. For those of you that's been seeing me throw these stain soaked rags in my garbage over here, I got a little metal tub that I keep my burnable stuff in, and then at the end of the day, or before I leave, I take that tub out there and put it in my burn pile. Especially with these stain soaked rags, you don't want to leave them laying around. They'll flame up on you for no reason at all. Whew. I'm finna have to walk out to the side for just a second. Didn't you test 120? Yeah, Bill, I tested it and it'll cut it, but it wouldn't. It wouldn't. It ain't pretty. Let's just put it that way. I mean, you can sometimes, just because you can cut it with a laser, it's not always the best idea. And if you're not putting it together as a box, it might not be noticeable. But yeah, I probably would avoid that. Hang on just a second. Yeah, Jack, rustic 3D prints just don't have the same, it don't have the same effect there, sir. But I mean, you can try it and see. Yeah, what Jack said, just because, like I said, just because the power's there, there are times to where, you know, you could use 120 watt to cut, but it's not always the best approach, because you end up with char. You end up with the bottom of the cut's going to be cavitated more than the top of the cut, so it's going to almost be cut at an angle. I mean, there's pros and cons to it. But I'll be honest with you, if you had your saw set up right, this project definitely wouldn't take long with just a regular saw. Especially if you set you up a fence on your table saw, for that matter, you ain't even got to have a chop saw. set you a fence on your table saw. You can knock this out. And I mean, if you're really cocky and you got a fence on your table saw, I guess you could run your, put your dado stack on there and run it sideways through there and make that. I've seen people do some stuff like that. I'm not that brave. I've managed to keep all my fingers, so I'm not going to be trying that. I would just assume use another saw of some sort. Mark says, I'm trying to cut some 3/8" marine plywood for an outdoor sign. I have an 80-watt CO2. After multiple experiments, I was able to get through it, but it looked like I was using a torch to do it. Yeah, that's where the problem runs into, is the deeper into the material you go, the more out of focus your laser is. And if you've never paid any attention to it, or if you don't understand it, a laser is light. It's concentrated light. Now there's different frequency ranges of light. You got blue light, you got IR, you got UV, you got all these different types of light. But at the end of the day, they're all just light. Well, when we were kids, some of us played with magnifying glasses and stuff. You're focusing that light to a specific point. And when you get that light focused, like to the max focus, it generates a lot of heat. So much heat that it just like ablates the material. Like the material just disappears. It turns into vapor. It's gone. But if you bring that light out of focus just a little bit, what ends up happening is you actually cool off the amount of heat that you're generating, which don't make any sense necessarily. But in doing so, you end up actually creating more heat in the material, because when it's really, really hot, it like burns it up and like it's gone, But when you start getting out of focus, it starts you're shining that light on the material, but it's not ablating the material. And so therefore it's generating heat inside the material. And so when you get out of focus, as it goes down, you end up charring way more than you would if you were in focus the whole time. So the deeper you go in that cut, the more char you're going to get, the more heat you're going to get. And if you ain't careful and you get enough heat in there, you're going to basically create little tiny pieces of charcoal. And you guys know we cook steaks on charcoal, right? Because charcoal will burn without flames. And wood, when charred properly, will burn without flames. And so you'll look over there and your beautiful piece of pine or your beautiful piece of poplar will just have a black spot that'll start growing and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It is burning without a flame, because it basically turns that organic material into a more or less the cherry on a cigarette is what it boils down to. It's burning, but it's not burning with a flame. And this is why, one, you never leave your laser unoccupied, and two, just because you can don't mean you should. And if you decide you're going to do it anyway, for the love of God, please get yourself a bottle full of water, like a spray bottle, like an old Windex bottle or something full of water, and keep it handy. And also, if you haven't seen my videos before, that's a fire extinguisher. Right over there on the front of that, see that right there on that CNC? That's a fire extinguisher. And there's another one, a big one over there by my door. Because you start doing experimental stuff like that, there's a real good chance that you're going to start a fire. I have playing around with that 3/4, half-inch material and stuff like that with lasers. I've actually took a piece that I cut, took it off the laser, threw it in my little metal bucket over here, to go out to the burn pile, and then started noticing that there was smoke coming out of my little bucket. And it was a piece of wood that I didn't pay attention to it. It didn't cut all the way through, but it had got hot enough on the inside that it had started burning without a flame on the inside of the material. And had I just threw that in my little burn bucket and walked outside, we'd be in a whole different building right now, because this one would be gone. So just because you can, don't always mean you need to. it's fun to play around, but you got to be careful too, because like I said, that piece of wood, it just, when I picked it up, I could see this, because I just happened to look over there and I saw the smoke coming up off of it. And it was a circle, and it was like in a cut, but it didn't cut all the way through. But what happened was all that heat was inside that material, and it actually started like little coals inside there, and it was just sitting there. It was just sitting there smoking. So what I wound up doing, of course, was grabbing my little squirt bottle, my little Windex bottle, and sprayed it down real good with some water. And I went ahead and took it out there and put it in my burn barrel just in case I didn't have it put out. Yep. Yeah, I don't ever jack. 6 millimeters a second is as slow as I will go. If I got to go slower than that, we're just going to add more passes or go to a different machine. That's just, I mean, 5 millimeters. Yeah. The times that I have started a fire that I had to put out was about 5 millimeters a second, 5 to 4 millimeters a second, because that was an experiment. That was just trying some stuff. And there was one time, I was one of the X-Tool machines. I was actually trying to trigger the flame sensor, but I couldn't get nothing to flame up. It just wanted to burn without a flame. And so there was no flame to be sensing. And so, so that's another thing you got to think about too, is just because you got a flame sensor, wood can burn without a flame. Like, it can sit there and start getting bigger and bigger. Now, eventually it's going to make a flame, eventually, probably. But it can get hot in there without actual flame. Whew, that's a lot of staining, guys. And I was thinking about, needing to do some exercising today. It looks like my old arms is getting a pretty decent workout today. Hold these little, you don't realize how heavy a box this small is until you holding one out here for about 3 hours. It'll start to get heavy. Whew. So what y'all working on? I got one more to do. Oh, this one got an interesting finish to it. Oh, my daughter's texting me. I maybe found out how to go. Look at that. Let me get this last and done here. One more. And then I got to check my text. I'm pretty sure I'm finna have to go, because there was a rumor that my daughter's driving class today might not be as long as it has been being. So I may have to go get her. What time is it? 12:49. Any more comments? Working on raccoons 3D relief cut. That's cool. I need to find me a 3D possum. That's what I want. I want a possum, like everybody does the alligator swimming. I've done the alligator swimming. I want a possum swimming. I feel like that'd be a cool one to do. But I got to get caught up on some videos. Like I said, I've got the laser pecker machine sitting over here that I got to do. And then I've got this Creality A1C, AC1, what is it, A1C, that I got to get done. So, whew, so I got to get that done where I can get back to playing. And this job here, I've been off and on, been working on this. I did 6 stove covers so far this week. So then I got this, trying to get paid. Just ran into the local maker store and grabbed some filament. What kind of filament did you get there, Jack said? There's some good filament. Alligator after a possum. That would be cool. I'm sure that's happened. All right, guys, we got them all stained. Now I got to check my messages. I'm pretty sure I'm finna have to go. And if you ain't used to using these gloves, from somebody that has spent years doing hazmat stuff and working around crime scenes to where you didn't want to touch your gloves, if you grab your gloves right here by the collar like that, and you can pull this one, and then you can just hold that one inside this glove, and then you pull this one inside out. Now you can handle these, and you ain't gonna get none of that yucky stuff on your hands. Ask me how I know. Because I spent years in crime scenes trying to remember, don't touch your face. Don't touch your face. Some of y'all know. Some of y'all know. Because the last thing you wanted to do was touch your face. Should have probably kept my gloves on so I cleaned everything. Well, let me check these messages here, see what I got going on. I appreciate y'all stopping by. Yeah, there's my wife. So I'm finna go get my youngin'. But y'all have a good one.